Cracking open a new category.
All right.
Damn.
With that Wolfenstein-related bit of housekeeping out of the way, now we can move on to best moment or sequence.
Mm-hmm.
That is not from Wolfenstein 2.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say that here.
It does not say that.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add the Hitler scene.
We had it. We had it there for a while, but I kind of like the implication that maybe Wolfenstein might crash back into this category.
No, because I think it
Probably not.
because I think it would.
That's the whole point of giving it its own category.
Yes. All right.
All right. Best non-Wolfenstein.
Yes. Moment or sequence.
All right.
This is a hell of a list.
It really is.
The end of Tekken 7.
Ooh.
The opening of Prey. Thanos steals the Satsui no Hado from Ryu and attacks Death and Jeddah with a Go Hadoken.
Okay. Sold.
I know
several of those
That's
words.
From Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Ryu uppercutting an Elder Dragon from Monster Hunter. Mario returns to the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario fights a dragon. Mario becomes Bowser.
He always was.
The New Donk City Festival. The Cannery sequence from What Remains of Edith Finch. Eventide Island from Zelda Breath of the Wild. Observer, the first time you go into someone's mind. Selmer's Poetry Slam from Night in the Woods. Bury Me, My Love endings. The endings from Bury Me, My Love. Okay. Just make sure I have that straight. Romeo's and Juliet's from Nier Automata. Become as Gods from Nier Automata. The End of Pascal from Nier Automata. And Route E from Nier Automata.
Best Nier Automata moment of shit.
Yeah, almost. The End of Tacoma. I'm sorry.
Crocodilopolis.
Entering the Crocodilopolis Gladiator Arena.
That's where I go to do all my crocodile.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Origins.
Mr. I just go to Florida.
Yeah.
The End of Pyre. The train fight from Uncharted The Lost Legacy. Eating pizza from Uncharted The Lost Legacy.
I love pizza.
Hell yeah.
The final mission of Destiny 2. Fighting Kuze in the sewer in Yakuza 0. Majima's debut in Yakuza 0. And the final fight in Yakuza 0. The Mr. King Dice boss fight from Cuphead. The Mean Bean Machine boss from Sonic Mania. 50 dudes in 2 very tiny rings from Wrestling Revolution 3D.
It's great.
The opera singer boss from Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. The Damien third date from Dream Daddy. Nemesis fuckery in Middle Earth Shadow of War. I'm going to read these out of order. Introduction of Peach from Mario and Rabbids.
I meant to add that one.
And a PUBG chicken dinner.
So is Wrestling Revolution 3D the game where guys get their arms cut off and is that game?
No, it's not like gore or violence like that.
No.
I think it's that same M. Dickey guy.
Yeah.
And it's garbage in an amazing way.
It's a highly customizable garbage.
So because I was watching a live stream, some people were a group of people were streaming a bunch of wrestling games for charity. And it was all, I want to say it was all the M. Dickey games. And at one point, it was like this huge thing of all these fake bad takes on WWE guys. But they were literally getting their arms like ripped off by weapons in some cases.
Who or what is M. Dickey? I'm looking at this game on Steam.
M. Dickey is
an institution,
an enigmatic figure who makes all his games by himself. And most of them are, if not just bad, then like functionally insane. He's made like a bunch of weird like religious games in addition to his wrestling milieu. And like his wrestling games are not good, but they are not good in the way that only someone who is deeply dedicated to making their own bizarre version of a wrestling game could be.
Like there are a lot of people who unironically like them, and like everyone admits that the gameplay is not exactly the best, but there is a weird amount of customization and stuff you can do. Like again, like making the ring size super tiny and throwing 50 dudes in there. If you want to, you can throw like 200 pieces of furniture or whatever in the ring that you can beat people up with. It's a garbage, insane game.
And you and I had a lot of fun with our quick look that we did.
I think we can probably take it off, but
that was maybe my favorite quick look moment all year.
Quite possibly.
It's up there for me too.
Very hard
Very
at that.
good.
It was incredible.
Like I'm looking at the footage. Is it like riffing on old wrestling games at all, or is it totally its own thing?
It's its own thing as far as gameplay goes. Like all those wrestlers are fucking terrible versions of WWE guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also,
and then it has editing tools. The idea being that you fix it.
Sure.
Also, everything in that game moves at like half speed in a way that is very bizarre. Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. That game is awful, and it probably won't hang on this list at all. But like that was a great moment that I shared with Dan, and I'm happy we mentioned it.
Yes.
Now I know that thing exists.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that if it's not this game, then it is another M. Dickey game.
Yeah, I think he's done violent stuff before.
Yeah, I watched a battle royale that was like guys were losing their legs and have to hop around the ring and stuff.
Yes,
and it was like this all AI fight. It was nonsense. I wasn't sure if you were referring to that specific thing, then I would probably help you in this fight, but no.
I'm mainly just talking about that moment and that quick look. And,
okay.
But yeah, we can take that off.
We could probably take off eating pizza from Uncharted.
When is that?
It's the very end. 'Cause it's a really good
it's
payoff.
Like during the credits or
maybe
after the credits, maybe?
During or right before or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that when you're all just like sitting on that thing
just,
and
like, eating pizza.
talking about?
It's because
It's because in the very beginning she promises the young girl.
The little girl wants pizza at the very beginning
and
of the
then
game.
at the very end they are all eating pizza together.
that was
It's like
pretty
a
good.
really nice and satisfying moment.
Is it like a shawarma, like Avengers moment?
Kind of.
At the end of the whole thing, like big crazy train sequence. And we'll relax on some pizza. It kind of is like that.
Is anyone cutting up the pizza with scissors while cleaning
Well,
a gun?
they're not Cobra.
Nothing is Cobra. In fact, Cobra should just win both moment sequences here.
Oh, yep.
10th year.
So are we taking eating pizza off?
I think we could.
Yeah,
I really
probably.
like it a lot, but it's maybe not as impactful as some of the others.
Also, like that train fight
It's
sequence
cool,
is
but-
incredible. Like it looks mind blowing, but like it's not even the first train sequence that Uncharted has done.
I mean, it adds some stuff to it. Like it looks and plays better, but we've done that
But
before.
It feels like a riff more than anything else.
It's a kind of a better take on something they've done before.
So fighting game stories are always just an endless excuse of why this character is meeting this character and they're fighting. And there's a pivotal point in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite's story where Thanos fights Ryu, he wins, and he steals the Satsui no Hadu, which is basically like Ryu's whatever power source.
Right. It's where the Hadoukens come
it's
from.
where
I thought
the
that's
Hadoukens
the
come
Dark Hado. The Satsui no Hadu is the surge of murderous intent that makes him into evil Ryu.
The Dark Hado
that's what
is
he
like
gives
in
into
check.
it. It's
kind of a
always
yin-yang
Is that what makes
thing.
Ken violent, Ken?
That's
Probably.
That's marketing.
Yeah.
And so Thanos steals the Satsui no Hadu, and after getting double crossed by Death, like the actual physical representation of Death, who is his old girlfriend.
Wait, is this the
Right?
the Marvel character Death?
Thanos is
Yes.
old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Death is personified in the Marvel universe and has had relationships with other characters in that universe.
And Jeddah, who's in the game, and he like walks up to him and hits them with a Hadouken, and it's really funny because it's big old Thanos in his stupid dumb voice saying Hadouken.
Oh, so he still has to say it? He still has to summon it?
And
Okay.
that's like the post credits stinger.
I mean, at least it's not the Josh Brolin Thanos voice.
Yeah. It was the only part of that story that was good, and it was really dumb and over the top in a way that I can get behind, but it is not one of the best moments overall of the year.
It sounds like one of those things that game probably needed way more of.
Yes. If it was all that, I would say it would have been a tremendous story, but
They did have Ryu uppercutting an Elder Dragon.
they did have that too.
So Hulk picks up Ryu, throws him at this huge Elder Dragon, right? Just an absolutely enormous thing. Ryu kicks it once, bounces off, and then they get pissed off and serious. And all of a sudden, Ryu does the Shin Shoryuken against this huge Elder Dragon and just knocks it the fuck out. It's a merging of my two greatest loves in a way that made me very, very happy.
That game sounds like it should have been good.
Yeah, it had potential. It definitely did.
I still think the game is good.
But the story should have been better
No.
from the sound of it, because that stuff sounds like it has potential.
As for every one of those two scenes that Jason and I talked about, there is a scene of Iron Man and Dante like making shitty jokes about the situation with each other and high-fiving.
Does that game just think it's the Avengers?
Yes.
Okay.
It thinks it's better than the Avengers.
All right. So we're cutting those?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think all three of these Yakuza moments are very good. I think the standout is probably Majima's debut,
You do? I think I like the sewer fight.
and it's pretty good.
So there's a point at which you have beat the Kuze, one of the bosses.
Is he one of the three bosses?
Yeah. He's probably the raddest looking.
Is he the one you fight first?
Yes, he's the guy you fight the most times.
Okay.
Also,
Okay. I know who you're talking about.
And he's rad looking. And then you're running down like a sewer tunnel for some reason. I think did you get set up? I
yeah,
think
you
might
did.
have-
They like a woman who works at a club. She knows that you're out like trying to find a hiding spot while the Yakuza's looking for you. So she's like, "Hey, just go out this back door. Go downstairs. You'll be safe. You can get out of the area." And then you get down there, and What's waiting for you is Kuze on a fucking Harley with a samurai sword. Or no, it's a giant pipe.
It's a giant pipe that he's like dragging on the ground
like sparks.
with his shirt off, and then just tries to and then you fight him in the sewer, which is fucking amazing.
It's just a super dramatic, like Metal Gear caliber stupid boss fight.
Sounds very anime.
It is very
well,
anime.
wait, I go back
like a Metal Gear caliber boss.
No,
fight.
no,
It
no,
is
no,
very
yeah,
anime.
no. Oh no.
Using the transitive property.
The Majima thing is also it was also just kind of a surprise because you just don't think to see him there. The Majima thing is fun because he is a cabaret owner. And there's
See the
a
eye patch
manager,
guy?
yeah.
So he is running this very profitable, very high end cabaret, and a shitty guy gets all drunk and it starts like disrupting the place, but he won't throw him out, so he has the guy just start fighting him, but dodges, like dances around all his stuff, and then like humiliates him somehow. I forget how
He makes him buy drinks for the entire
Like
giant club.
his big turnaround is that he basically pleads with him and like ingratiates him to such a degree. He's like, we know you're an honorable person. We know you're a good guy. So that's why you're totally going to
buy drinks.
You're going to
for
make good on this just by buying drinks for the whole room. And it's going to be, everything's going to be totally okay once you do that. And it's just like a great like using logic against you argument, but like in a physical form.
Yeah. Like he totally wins that fight without throwing a single punch.
Yeah.
But I do like Kuze on a motorcycle.
Yeah,
like, I think we can take the final fight off here. That is a really good fight. It's a great culmination of everything that happens before that. But like it is just a really good fist fight with Shibusawa, who is sort of more the silent asshole of those three.
Yeah.
And I don't think it necessarily stands out against the other two.
Some good music and screaming and dragon tattoos.
And it goes on just long enough to feel epic without like dragging.
Yeah.
Let's come back to those two.
But I think the final fight can come off.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Sonic Mean Bean Machine was awesome when it showed up, but I don't know. It was kind of there and then gone.
Yeah. It's really great. It's one of the things that makes that game better.
Unfortunately, you do run into circumstances where, like, my partner was playing Sonic Mania because they played the old ones back in the day, and we got to that part, and my partner was just like, "What do I do?"
Oh, like for the Mean Bean Machine.
Didn't know what Mean Bean Machine was, and then
Yeah.
just like I had to like sit down and explain the mechanics.
We ran into a spot where
that
it bugged out.
That encounter is very prone to
if you
breaking
hold
on
right.
a live stream after you've hated every second of that level and forcing you to play through the whole level again because you have to quit and restart the game.
If you hold right at the end of it,
if you're still moving, if you're still moving as you win that thing, it just locks up.
That sucks.
Or it doesn't lock up. You just keep jumping around in there and you can never get out.
That sucks.
Isn't Mean Bean? Kirby's Avalanche.
It's Poyo, basically. I think it's really smart the way they set it up, though, because like you were just in the middle of doing one of those Sonic bullshit things where you're just going super duper fast, and the last thing on your mind is this like puzzle, like Poyo, like Mean Bean.
It is an awesome idea.
And it's like, oh, I guess I'm doing this now.
Yeah, it's definitely fun.
Yeah,
Also-
it's one of the coolest things in that game. I
Also,
think.
fuck that thing.
The Mean Bean Machine. Yeah.
Good title for a game.
Man, the opening of Prey is really good.
It is.
It's by all accounts the best part of that game, from what people have repeatedly told me about it.
People seem to really like Prey.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Prey's bad. I'm just saying that like that seems to be the moment that everyone kind of like.
I want to play more Prey. It
If I
seems
had to
like a
pick
really
one
good
moment,
game.
that would probably be it, as
Yeah.
terms of like how cool it is and just like how it subverts your expectations.
And it does it right out of the gate. It's not like some late reveal.
Right.
Like they don't make you BioShock your way all the way through it to get to the BioShock. They're like, oh, by the way,
Like it's 10 minutes in.
yeah.
Yeah. Although I think a later reveal is much worse, but I think this early reveal is very good.
Also, I think like the technical execution of that thing is kind of
Yeah, when you're
amazing.
in the
'cause
helicopter and you see
sequence-
the credits.
Yeah.
Specifically because it feels like a type of thing, if they had tried to do it 5 years ago, it would have been like a very obvious, like the entire level would have just been skybox because that's all they could do. But it's a fully modeled out city. It looks like a completely real video game, and then it all fades away. Like,
Yeah.
like it's executed like
yeah.
seamlessly.
Technically
kicks
very
in and a cool
impressive.
part.
And then like 10 minutes after that, as you're moving through the control room that controls the simulation, you can like flip through the different simulations and they all fade back up and down. You
I don't know
you
if
can
I
play.
saw
Cool.
all that.
Yeah, it's kind of out of the way.
I think we
but
did, Vinny.
You
Did
can
we?
you can play with the
It's, like,
controls
pretty
and,
early
and
on.
like
I know you can jump into the helicopter blades.
Like you remember breaking the window
yeah.
and then it like shatters the illusion.
Yeah.
It's sort of based in that.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
If it's top
that's
three
a
or
really
not.
cool moment.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
is.
sure that it's top three.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Based on
I agree.
It's very cool.
the way some of y'all feel about it. Can I say I don't think I like the dragon fight in Mario that much.
It's
Like,
okay.
It's
but-
like a startling moment, but you look at it like, all right, it's a real looking dragon, I guess.
Yeah, I think they're
Like,
more impactful moments in Mario.
Yeah.
I was also
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow, a dragon, they're really doing it. But also considering all the other stuff you see in that
Yeah.
game.
yeah.
I'm glad it's there. I like it. It's not the best moment of
It's
Mario.
like it's just I don't know. It's this out of place like road like the moment in the game where it hits you is this like kind of almost annoying roadblock where I'm just and it's not a difficult
Oh,
fight where
right.
it just hits you and you're like
Yeah.
all right, fine, I'll
Like the
Yeah.
fight this
Yeah.
thing. It looks different, I guess.
I finished that fight and came out of it, and I was just like, that was a weird 10-minute detour. Like, why was
Yeah.
that there? Like, it just
It-
didn't feel like it served much purpose.
like it was kind of neat, and it was I appreciated it for what it was, but also it felt very much like someone on the Mario team just being like, yeah, no, I just wanted everyone to know I did play Dark Souls once. Like, okay, that's fine, good for you, but like, yeah, it's definitely not the most memorable part
It's
of Mario
like
for me.
sort of funny.
Yeah,
yeah.
For me, it was like a good. I liked it because it made Bowser seem like there are other bad guys in this world.
Yeah.
Like there's this dragon who's doing his own thing and like
Yeah.
calls his
Bowser,
buddy
yeah,
up.
Bowser's just like, hey, check out what I got. It's
Yeah.
a fucking dragon.
That's not, yeah, okay.
Hey
All
Frank,
right.
you want to come help me with this problem? I got my own shit to deal with, but okay.
That's the thing,
Let
like,
me get my hat on.
with how easy that dragon is to dispatch, like I don't think Bowser really has to worry about it. Bowser's a much more persistent villain.
Also, Bowser's kind of a dragon.
He totally is. He breathes fire.
Maybe
He's
like
a dragon
maybe-
turtle.
No, he's the Koopa King. He's a Koopa.
Yeah, he's a turtle.
Well, Koopas are kind of dragons.
They're kind of they're turtle dragons.
Like maybe they
He's
met at like
Gamera,
a fire
basically.
breathing
Yeah.
club or something like that. It's just like a like hey villains who breathe fire kind of thing.
Yeah.
He totally is Gamera.
I think when Mario becomes Bowser is neat, but it's all happening so fast, and it just is like kind of like, oh, of course I'm doing this.
That's kind of. I thought it was amazing, but also, yes, of course,
Yeah.
of course, you did
The
that.
thing I really like about it is that they basically fit the last level of a Halo game into Mario Odyssey.
Sure.
Where it's like, okay, now you're Bowser, and then get out of here like he's a warthog.
Yeah, he's the warthog.
Probably the most disturbing moment of like going into Bowser and like seeing all his old memories
That was
pass
fucking
by
awesome.
you and
That-
like
I really
in this
enjoyed all
terrible
that.
shameful way of like Mario stop close your
Out
eyes
of my head.
yeah what are you
It's like
doing?
a war crime.
You expect him to
Yeah.
just like fucking Shang Tsung explode out of him at the end. It's like, fucking die!
Like eight Bowser rib cages
Yeah.
come out.
It's like a horrible like betrayal of like Mario these weren't the rules of engagement
Took it too far.
yeah you definitely took this too far.
But see, I feel like maybe the game could have done a better job of at least like making note of that, like that having some impact on
Yeah.
Mario. Because think about
Nothing
it,
does.
Mario now knows what Bowser's most deepest fucked up sexual fantasy is.
Mario doesn't know anything. He's a cipher.
I
Like, there's
guess.
there's nothing going on behind the hat there. It's Mario's just what he.
I'm just,
Yeah.
Mario
does
should
what
be
he does.
changed after that.
I agree.
I wish they made it a bigger deal, or you did more with Bowser.
Yeah,
Kinda,
and
yeah.
like I feel like having that game kind of the end of it be this. It's the most Popeye thing they've ever done. I feel like with regards to those two characters fighting for Peach.
Oh yeah, sure.
Of the like,
oh,
we're both
olive
standing here
oil.
putting flowers
Yeah,
in front of you.
that
and she's
actually-
just like
I
Peach.
did
that was a
not.
little hokey.
Like I think that that's okay for what it is, but like it's like makes
yeah,
the
like-
stakes feel as small as they ever could
yeah,
have.
like
It was
like,
such a
I
weird
kinda,
note.
I kind of yeah. I was like. I was like, wait, are you saying this has always just been about Mario trying to win Peach's affections? Like,
I feel like they were trying to be like, oh, we know that you guys don't like damsel in distress stuff anymore, so like, we got you, we see it.
okay,
but then they
yeah,
just
I
like,
could see that.
but like the entire game is she's still a damsel in distress. She has a
Yeah.
cappy. She could have still gotten away. Like this
It's like
2
it's,
second
it's
thing.
less
is
distressful and more of her like no one cowering in fear from the
Right.
dragon turtle and just going like, all right, yeah, cool, we're gonna fight for your affections here, and then she's gonna leave. And
Let me get on my balloon here.
She's
Like
gonna fly around and fight herself.
Yeah, like I get why that's sort of funny, but it left me in a worse place with like my feelings on
Right.
Yeah.
like the Mario fiction or whatever.
I like these other two moments a lot more. Than,
Yeah, man. I love that you go to the Mushroom Kingdom, but I think they mishandle just about
Yes.
everything about it in this game.
Yes.
I don't think it's a terribly remarkable thing.
Well,
I think
I
it's
was
awesome.
wowed by it.
If
I-
I had not seen it ahead of time,
Yeah.
it would have blown my
see,
fucking
totally,
mind. But
totally.
again, even from that pre-release footage
Yeah.
where you can see the castle in the painting,
Yeah.
it's like, wait, am I going to go there?
Yeah.
And then they tease it again if you find that one
Like
thing.
I remember when I went to Nintendo and played that level like 2 months before release, and I went up to that painting and activated it, and they were
Yeah.
like, please don't hit yes. Like they were like, please don't go in there. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? Huh.
Well, then why did you put that in there to begin with?
Yeah,
No.
like I don't like that of all the because there's only like Well, maybe I missed a bunch of portraits, but I feel like there's only 3-4 of those portraits.
I think there's one for each level.
Oh, okay. Maybe I missed a ton of them then, and so then in that case, I'm extra bummed that I haven't to find
I know
this one.
I did not, and like thank God I did
Yeah.
because I was so wowed going in there. But
That's
they
why
definitely like bungled their
This is the one kingdom they should not have let you see earlier.
And on top of that, it's actually one of the easiest portraits to find.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Where
I
is
completely
it?
missed
Lesser
that one.
Kingdom.
It was one of the few I missed. I like. There's some really good touches in there. I like that Yoshi's on top of the castle.
Yep, that's good.
I like that
Yep.
you can get the hat and the costume where it makes you look like Mario 64
That was
Mario.
good.
Where you
Yes,
go into that
that
like
was really
ghost
cool.
courtyard thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But you can't ride Yoshi. You can only possess Yoshi.
I kind
flutter
of like
jump.
that.
I think it's awesome.
It's a cool idea.
I loved it from the nostalgia standpoint, but like I think the New Donk City Festival
I
beats it
agree.
out.
I like that the moons are stars and then it makes the old sound.
Yeah.
I know all
Yes.
the noises were so
it's
satisfying and good.
Yeah, that was
The
cool.
New Donk City Festival, I like it a lot, but also you spend too much of it upside down, and I think that's the worst part of those
It's like
2D
30
things
seconds.
is when they have
that
you running
much.
upside down. Like that's not something Mario does.
I
for their,
agree
for their
with you.
big nostalgic thing,
Yeah.
they fuck it all up with that.
But you play Donkey Kong.
They're turning the
Yeah.
franchise
Yeah.
upside down. man.
Play actual Donkey
I know,
Kong.
that was
do-
pretty
you do-
crazy.
you
While
do
Pauline is singing you a song
It's pretty
about
fucking crazy.
jumping up and grabbing coins.
It seemed like such a fun celebration of like the history
Yeah.
of Mario.
Yeah.
like very
Yeah.
touching.
Yeah, it really was.
And they
I
work their way up to it really well with like assembling
Yeah.
the band
Yeah.
and they're playing the Mario tune. Like you're like, oh, that's a neat little bit of a nostalgia, and
Yeah.
then you go to that and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
holy shit! It's,
What else? I was gonna
I think we keep that one
say
in
one other
consideration.
thing about
Yes.
I came out of it going like, man, I really hope there's a way to replay that. And then I went in there and sure enough, they're like, hey, do you want to do the festival again? And I was like, okay.
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
And you can even play the different version with
Even-
the 8-bit music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Though I will say that it reminds me when you do take over Bowser, you get to go in the 2D thing as Bowser with the hat on,
That's, and
which is
breathe
nice.
fire and
Yeah, which is-
everything.
which is pretty fun.
That was pretty
Yeah.
good. That was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Uh,
I think the New Donk Festival is pretty strong.
yeah, I
Yes,
think it's one of
yes.
the better moments.
All right. I love the end of Tekken 7.
Yeah.
The having those characters collide
Oh,
and
yeah.
like the
In such an epic fashion.
And where
as
they
well.
collide.
What
is
is
it?
what is
Yeah.
the end of Tekken 7?
well, what is it? It's Kazuya and Heihachi, and then Akuma comes out after that.
Huh.
And
Are they-
so they've
are they on a
managed to
volcano?
yeah.
Of course.
And so as it's this Kazuya Heihachi moment, like they've gone full anime at this point. Like they are playing fucking old cutscenes, like half superimposed over the fight
man.
as you're fucking fighting.
yeah, it reminded me of the Metal Gear Solid 4 ending.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It's
Wow.
It's a lot like that, and it's fucking great.
Man.
And then they work Akuma into it at that point as well, like they have gone above and beyond at putting guest characters or putting Akuma in there at least as a guest character and making him feel like he belongs in the Tekken universe is one of the fucking most insane things they've ever done.
So he makes sense in the story?
Yeah.
Like they call
weird.
very special
Oh, wow.
attention to the way he just sort of wanders in from a different universe, and then like they just keep focusing on him.
I don't know if I got far enough to see how he's introduced. Like, there is a justification for
Yeah,
him being there?
what is it? It's Heihachi's wife sends him out to avenge her, I think is the specifics of it.
Wow.
So he is this fucking demon out there doing a job.
Okay.
And
Demon for hire.
I am Akuma, and I have come to kill you and Kazuya on behalf of Kazumi.
yeah. It's really good.
Wait, kill Heihachi?
Yeah.
Wait, Heihachi's wife puts out a hit on him?
Yes.
Dude, that whole family
On
got
account
really
of Heihachi
fucked up.
killed her because she was
Wait, she's
possessed.
dead?
Yeah.
She's
I mean, as dead as anyone has been, I
Man,
guess, in
that's a lot
Tekken.
to unpack.
But yeah, this is a really good culmination of 7 games or
Yeah.
seven games worth of Heihachi and Kazuya, and this is the final showdown.
Really? Like, did someone actually die?
No.
I mean, they die in a
no,
way
because
that
no.
It's
But-
implied,
Tekken never ends.
but yeah,
Yeah.
Is it a lava-based death?
we're playing
Yeah.
Tekken right
they're
now.
fighting in a volcano.
It wraps back around to the intro of the game of you playing as the kid version of Kazuya in this bad fight with Heihachi that you can't win. Like that whole story mode is way better than it has any right to be, and it's not it's not perfect by any means. But I think the way that they end it, the way it comes together, is really impressive.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I started talking about it as a way to say maybe we can take it off the list, but now having gone through it, I am less into that idea.
I also like when you beat Akuma, he's just like, you aren't even that good, and he just like walks away.
Yeah.
Hearing you guys be this enthusiastic about that is making me really intimidated by the idea of having to finish the category.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that
I feel like this is going to be rough.
this year is so nuts when it comes to like individual moments that stood out.
I feel like when we narrow this one down, I'll be able to make some better decisions about
Yeah. With this list as long as it is, maybe
We just need to cut the easy ones now.
All right.
I'm gonna say I liked Tacoma a lot, but the ending
Yeah, I agree.
was a little on the nose for me.
Yeah.
I liked it. I think it's a good. Like I put it on there because I like the little twist there that so you're going to that station to ostensibly collect records and sort of get the whatever, find out what happened to the crew, then why they're not on the station anymore, and the ultimate reveal is that the reason they're not on there anymore is that their own company sabotaged the station to try and essentially kill them and turn them into an excuse to automate all of the crews for future stations.
They're actually like your corporation is like lobbying for legislation that would allow them to eliminate human jobs in favor of robots doing all this stuff, and they figure like, hey, a disaster on one of our stations is just the way to say, hey, we should let robots do this. They can't die.
And there's also a nascent movement going on that is sort of like, AI independence. Like, are AIs people? Can they have rights? That sort of thing. And you find out in the end that you are actually part of that movement, and you are essentially rescuing the AI from that station, because the AI is even though it technically its commands wouldn't let it just flat out say, hey, by the way, your company's trying to kill you. It apparently spent most of that time trying to hint and sort of nudge the crew and let them know that something was wrong, and that it was essentially trying to go against its own programming and stop them from dying.
Or there's a lot of like when your character asks the AI about stuff, is like, oh, I'm not allowed to tell you about that. You know what I mean? Like it talks around a lot of the truths in a really like a leading way.
But and like the whole thing of the evil rogue AI thing is such a well-worn trope, and they're essentially doing what they did with Gone Home here and the ghost story stuff, and sort of turning that on its head a little bit and making the AI kind of the secret hero of the story.
Yeah,
they subvert it really well, and I think it's a good ending. I think it's a satisfying story, but I don't necessarily think it's the best moment.
No, and that's fair. I think that's fair.
Tell me about Crocodile.
All right, so
Lapis.
Dan, I think this is the only thing that might possibly convince you to play further into Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
There's a whole subplot, and this is part of the main story thread, where you basically go into the gladiator arena to find out who one of the people you need to kill is. And when you get there, it is essentially an independent wrestling promotion.
Okay.
The guy who runs the Gladiator is the most Vince McMahon-ass character that has been in any Assassin's Creed game. And he essentially pairs you up with this woman who is from your hometown, who has been fighting there for a while. I believe her name is Kensa? Yeah, Kensa. And, like, it even goes into, like, the full-on, like, hey, you're here to play an ethnic stereotype for the crowd.
Oh, wow.
Like, you are the Savage from Siwa or whatever it was. And, like, he pairs you up as a tag team, basically, and
So
you
you're
fight
like
together.
Nikolai Volkov.
Yeah, you fight together as a tag team in this arena, taking down various gladiator personalities, and eventually, the only thing that I think maybe takes it out of this is that the main plot around it is not as interesting. Like where it eventually goes and who you end up killing is not nearly as interesting as like the way they sort of like really lean into the pro wrestling aspects of what the gladiator arena is.
Do they all have like gimmicks and stuff?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's not as explicit as, this guy, is a fucking, wrestling plumber or anything like that. But it is definitely playing into, like, your whole gimmick is you are native Egyptians, and they're playing up that aspect of it in a way that is kind of interesting.
Cool.
If also, like, very explicitly racist.
That's a cool idea.
If it ended better, I think it would possibly be top 3. But like as it is, it's a really cool moment and a really cool little sequence there that maybe just doesn't have quite the impact at the end that it should. It does have an ultimate betrayal of your tag team partner at least. But
oh dear.
Yeah.
Are you the Sean?
Do you get kicked through a window, or
not? It's more of a. I don't really know how to explain it other than to say, like, basically your partner takes a job working for the person you're trying to kill, and ultimately you end up having to fight them because they've gone full mercenary and you haven't.
Okay.
But you're saying you don't necessarily.
I don't think it's top
it
3.
is.
I don't think it's top
Okay.
3.
Okay.
I can't wait to get there. That sounds cool.
I really loved the final mission in Destiny 2. I loved the fire stuff. Like that was a really like wow moment for me.
Super awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I also can't tell you any details from that final mission aside from you're on the sun.
Yeah, like
I'm right
you're
there.
there to
can't remember.
sabotage a doomsday machine. Like that's kind of whatever. It's really the visual.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, the visuals of that
it's
of
fucking
hiding from the sun is
It's awesome.
really
Standing
fantastic.
standing on the
Very,
outside of
very
a space
cool.
station
Yeah.
is so big. They're just so close to the sun that you
But
can't
like
see anything
that,
else.
that final boss fight in that game is awful.
I didn't Oh, you know what? Actually,
Yeah, this is just written as the final
I-
mission on
I-
here,
You mean, like,
Yeah.
the
which
sun.
is that's
the
not
sun.
that's a
Yeah, I know.
okay.
I told
Son.
that
I knew
actually
what you meant.
tells
but-
you how memorable the final mission is.
Yeah,
I forgot that. Was
Yeah, like the whole
Yeah.
part with the rooftop part in the city is not
yeah,
good
it's
either.
okay, and the boss fight's kind of whatever.
Yeah, the boss fight is just like jetpacking around. It's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, it's not that hard.
I barely even remember
It's
that.
like-
I beat him in one
And
shot.
it's like unlimited
Yeah.
supers, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun part looks cool though.
The sun part was rad. I
Yeah.
enjoyed playing it with a friend. Like, it was fun being like, oh, like, I'm at this thing. Like, come catch up
Yeah.
kind of
It's
stuff.
very quick.
But
The visual's so
Yeah.
good though.
Yeah, it's very, it's a very,
it's quick.
good-
It's basically
but-
like run through a hallway.
yeah, run through a really pretty hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's why we talked about it so long for best looking game, but I don't know
Right.
that moment is especially.
All right,
I was a little let down by it, honestly.
I think it's really something.
I also think the ending of Pyre is probably not going to hang here. I think it's a really nice culmination. And granted, it can go a bunch of different ways depending on which characters you ultimately decide to send back to the home city and versus not. But the way they sort of give you the big choice at the end, you can essentially at the end of that game you can decide whether you go home or someone else does, including the person you just fought, who has like a blood feud going with your crew of magical dunkers. And
Would you? I hadn't finished it, but would you say there's like not one single ending?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it is.
Like there is no like I hate to use the word canon, but like there's no like official ending. Like it's just a bunch of
It
endings.
is definitely like it is a KOTOR style pieced together from the choices.
Oh, I
made.
see.
Yeah, it's very much in that visual novel sort of sense, and I think that I really liked the way it concluded, at least in my game, and I like the little end credit sequence where they're singing about the characters that were in the game, and also like it shows you what happened to everyone. So like,
I
and
actually really liked it.
depending on which pairings stayed back, like you'll find out like who hung out with who, like who sort of what did they do down in the downside
Right.
afterward. I think it's really well
Pretty
done.
thorough.
Yeah.
I thought
The Wagon Imp was elected to the United States Congress.
I mean, you can listen. It's a weird world.
It is a weird world.
I think it's satisfying. I think it pays off for all of the choices I think you make, or at least what I felt. In a way that seems like the combination of things they would have had to come up with is insane.
Yeah.
And I thought that they at least went through all of that stuff and didn't just brush it off.
Yeah.
Which I think was very impressive.
It's a really nice, satisfying ending to what you do in that game.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely pay off for the choices you make.
That's cool. Although on some level, like if it's that variable, I don't know if
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it is top three regardless.
that's tough to talk about
Yeah.
if it could go so many different ways.
I've added something to the list.
Yeah, you did.
Finally killing Callus
God,
and
yeah.
taking the elevator down and seeing 1,000 other Calluses, and then Abby added, and knowing you'll never have to play Destiny 2
Yeah,
again.
that's actually probably the best moment. Of
I was
that
trying to
game.
think if there's anything else in Destiny that qualified for moment, but that one was holy shit. That's the most emotional moment I've had of the year in terms of gaming, but it wasn't necessarily due to storytelling or anything. It was just the culmination of and I think it was a little more different for us specifically because we're doing it on camera, right? And we have an expectation to try and beat it. But that thing of I'm sure it's a likewise experience of coming up on the reset with your friends and just knowing you only have X more attempts before maybe you never even try it again. I don't think I would have ever played the raid again if we didn't beat it there.
No way.
Yeah, the thing I'd say is that there's some and maybe it's because we were a little drawn out with it and ran into weird issues along the way and stuff, but I almost overlooked this thing with all the calluses, which is a really cool visual, but it gets undercut by oh god, thank god we finished the raid. You're too busy going oh thank god to even notice anything that's happening.
I took it as a cool story reward.
Yeah, it's a really neat thing, and I think if you hadn't said, "Hey, come look at this," I never would have even noticed that.
I know.
Well,
It's
you
like
have-
the
you-
chest.
you-
Let me
I know.
walk
I'm gonna
off.
look at the chest and been all right, go. I gotta go to bed.
I mostly remember you guys being disappointed with your loot.
Yeah, that's not
yeah.
great.
I also hated that fight with just every fiber of
It's a
my
bad
being.
fight. But when he is revealed to be a robot,
It's pretty
Pretty
cool.
fucking
I know,
awesome.
it's pretty
I'm
cool.
talking about very specifically the last bullet in his body to that moment.
yeah.
If we don't think it's top three, it's fine. I wanted to call that
No,
out. 'cause
that's-
I think it's
another-
cool. I don't
worth
think
calling
it's top
out.
three.
It was done in that Resident Evil movie where you
I
see
would-
all the people. What movie was? Which one was that?
Resident Evil.
Okay.
You know the one with Mila
Oh,
Jovovich.
yeah,
Are you talking about the one where they're throwing all the Mila Jovoviches on a pile? Yeah, I think that's 3.
Whoa.
Wait, really?
Yeah, there's a bunch
wow.
of Mila
Crazy.
Jovovich clones in that movie.
It's weird.
Weird.
I just randomly fell into playing through Edith Finch yesterday.
Oh, me too.
Wasn't really. Oh, really?
Are we taking Callus off?
I guess. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a really strong moment, but people hate Destiny. So.
I love Destiny, but meh.
Okay, so
But
you're
hate Destiny too. I know.
Oh God, that new DLC's out tomorrow. I totally forgot about that.
All right.
Brad, tell me about
Abby
your...
loves Destiny.
Yeah.
I do. I like
jump from
Destiny.
I love Destiny to you going, oh.
And also writing never having to play Destiny again after
Look,
my
I
moment.
was like done after that raid,
I'm right there with you.
but
Brad, tell me about your Edith Finch experience.
That cannery sequence is a strong contender.
I
in
think
this
that's
category.
my
Like,
number
that's
one.
a really crazy,
It's-
affecting thing.
yeah, it's really phenomenal. Like honestly, for me, that was more impactful than some of the Wolfenstein moments.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Tell me about it.
okay, so you go into like people's minds, or not their minds, but like their memory. Kind of, you discover their story. Sort of like everyone's is different, and then one person's. I think he's like, I played it a few months ago, but I think he's like kind of depressed.
Yeah, well,
And,
I
like-
hate to cut you off, but
No,
like I feel like
please.
there's some important context, which is that
Right.
over the course of the game, they slowly reveal that either this family has a curse on it or they believe they have a curse on it, because like you go through the game discovering the stories of all your dead family members and going like, there sure are a lot of dead children in this family, and
And like each memory thing is like leading up to their death,
yes,
correct?
and so
Yeah.
this is effectively the last story you uncover, and it's your brother.
Yeah.
Or the brother of the character you're playing as, and it also is becoming apparent at that point that his death basically broke your family. Like everything fell apart after that. Anyway, go ahead. Like that's just you know all this by the time you get to see
Right.
his story.
So he works at like a cannery, and what he does is he takes a fish and then he like chops the head off the fish. So you are doing that with the controller manually, but as you're doing that, he starts daydreaming. And like earlier in the story, he talks about how he like daydreams too much. So he starts daydreaming about like being a knight walking through like a city or something. So you're still doing this while you see like the daydream of the knight. Do you control the knight? I don't remember.
I feel like
Yeah.
the right stick
Yeah.
does the
It is
fish.
literally both
Yeah.
both hands are doing a different
So like
thing. But
one hand is doing this monotonous
Oh,
like
cool.
chopping the head
Yeah.
off the fish, while the other one is controlling this guy. And as you get deeper into his daydream story, it takes up more and more of the screen.
also the graphics improve. Like it starts
Yeah.
out looking like a text mode. Like it looks like Rogue.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like you're moving a little white box through like a black and white maze, and it seamlessly like
Fills
they
in.
add dimension to it, and then they add color to it, and then they start adding more characters, and then it fills up more and more of the screen. Also, it's really important to point out that every one of these family members' stories is like narrated by somebody, and this one is narrated by you finding the letter, like the final letter from his psychiatrist to your mother about like, here's what we talked about over his final months, and like I thought we were getting through to him, and he seemed like he was getting better, and blah blah blah. So like the psychiatrist is literally talking about his condition as he deteriorated working at this cannery. Anyway, sorry.
Right. And like I feel like as you're doing the cannery too, there's always like you're like slicing with a big blade, and like you know he's gonna die. So there's also a thing of like, well, am I gonna like cut my own hand off? Like what's gonna happen? I vaguely remember how he dies, but not really. Maybe you should take it away from here, because I like am losing some of the details.
What the psychiatrist builds up to is that he was increasingly becoming lost in his fantasy world,
Right.
and like losing touch with the real world to the point that he had stopped speaking at his job. Like this had kind of become everything to him. And eventually the fish cutting stuff is totally out of the way, and it's full screen. You're in the world. And basically he is like expecting to be crowned king of this fantasy kingdom.
world.
Yeah, and he basically like walks up to his coronation, which is the queen like bringing the crown down on his head.
he
And I
like
think,
kneels down.
yeah,
for
and
it,
you
right?
and you
Yeah.
and you lean your head down, and I want to say
Does he get decapitated?
I want to
from the
say you
thing?
have to
think so.
use the same thumbstick motion to like
I believe that's true.
maybe bring the crown down on your head that you were using to cut the fish heads off,
Right.
and then it just like hard cuts to black. Like it's really well done.
It's very
Oy.
good. It's like
super-
it's phenomenal.
It's such a good cap to everything that game has, because like a lot of those deaths are very whimsical. Some of them are very short. But like,
I agree, and I also think like some of the writing is not great in that game. Like some of the scenes are less well
Yeah.
executed than
Right,
others. Like
yeah, totally.
not all of that game worked for me, but that one scene works. Like
yeah, like
I
that,
agree.
it's a really perfect like sort of way to sort of end that series of unfortunate events, and Like, it's probably the best rendering of a character of any of those Finch family members.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really good.
Like, I like a lot of the vignettes, probably most of them in that game, and that was definitely the most affecting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
I feel like that one probably stays at least in consideration for the time.
Yeah,
being.
yeah.
Oh, totally, yeah. I would say we could maybe drop Observer. I think it's pretty cool the first time you go into someone's mind, but that whole game is so overwhelming that it's not maybe as impactful as if it were just like, okay, here's a normal detective story, and then you go in someone's brain, and then it's also overwhelming.
right.
I don't know. That stuff is great. That stuff is so well done.
It is. It's really well done, but also...
Is
I
it a
don't know.
top 3 moment of the year?
I don't think so.
I don't know if it's top 3, but
I think it's very good,
really
but I don't know if it's top 3.
Like, all that stuff is so good
Wait,
in there.
so Vinny, you're not sold on cutting it?
I really like it, but we can get rid of it.
I mean, I like it a lot too.
Yeah,
I
me
think
too,
that
but-
is the thing that game does really well.
But like, it does that throughout the game, so it's just
Yeah.
a good game.
I don't know. Did you put the Selmer's Poetry Slam?
I did.
I don't know if I would have that.
I think
I like that.
it's the coolest culminating moment in that game. Like, a lot of that game is just a lot of very small, interesting scenes with characters, and none of it necessarily stands out that way. But like, there's something about the Selmer's arc that I thought was even more impactful than most of what that game was doing story wise. Like, Selmer's is this woman who lives down the street from you with her parents. She's someone I think you went to high school with at some point, and like, she's a former drug addict who went through rehab and is just kind of trying to figure out what her life is at that point. And when you start talking to her, she starts telling you, "Hey, do you want to hear some of my poetry? Do you want to hear it?" And a lot of it is just like this very short, kind of blunt, like not particularly good,
I
but
liked
sort of
it.
funny.
I think it's good.
Like, an example one on the day 2 one is, the day 3 ones, which was there it is. It's the day 1 one. My heart is a dankness, but when I see you, I feel a thankness. When I feel a blueness, all I need is a you-ness.
Oh.
And it's just stuff like that. Like, it's nice, but it's kind of goofy.
They're funny, and some of them are a little more cutting.
Yeah. And so, but then you get like multiple days of those. And then finally she's like, "Hey, I'm doing this reading at this poetry society. Do you want to come hang out and check this out?" And you're like, "Yeah, okay." You can choose to do that. And when you get there, she lays out this incredibly complex and like really cutting, scathing, statement on, sort of the gig economy and the way that like jobs have sort of dried up in that town, and just like, talking about like setting fire to Silicon Valley and all this other shit. Like, it's really elaborate and pretty
It's really
good.
good. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and
I don't like poetry, and I'm like, no, this is good.
Yeah, and even May is just sort of like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, it's probably the best character arc in that game, I think. But also, is it a top 3 among all this other stuff? Probably not.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if it's a top 3. I like it a lot, but
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
What is the nemesis fuckery for Shadow of War?
Yeah,
what are you
that's
talking
not
about?
going to hang here. And
Okay.
there's not even one specific moment I would point to, but they come up with so many little twists on that formula that are so cool every time you see one for the first time.
I mean, the
Movie's
nemesis
probably
stuff
got it.
remains the I think the highlight of that game.
The one for me was where they started playing with the game's mechanics
Mhm.
and tying into that stuff, where because you can go into your, it's just like any open world game, you can go into your mini map and like highlight a thing and hit X to set a waypoint on it or whatever. I went in there and flagged a guy as my target who was on a different map, because you're not supposed to encounter guys from other maps. Like, they don't cross borders.
Right.
They stay in the zone they're in. I targeted a guy in a different map. Like, the second that I buttoned out of the menu back to the game, he fucking showed up in my face. And
Got
like
in
just
your face.
and just like Cockney, whatever, their guttural bullshit. Like, it's just like, "Oh, you're gonna come after me? Like, fuck you. Like, I will come after you." Like, he just showed up because I had targeted him
kinda
in
funny.
the menu and came to fight me instead. Like, it was this like cool little surprise.
Like in a fourth wall breaking way that he knew that you had targeted
yes,
him?
Yes,
That's
like
really
I had done
dumb.
something in the game mechanics and he responded to that. Like, it was a cool moment.
That's funny.
And they do other stuff like that. I've talked about a bunch of it on the podcast, like enemies like taking your weapon from you and breaking it in front of you when they kill you.
Did they actually break
And then,
it?
and then you lose the weapon.
Oh, wow.
But if you go back and fight them to get revenge, then you get it back and like reforge it stronger. Like, it's a bunch of cool little stuff like that. But like, I guess there's no one thing I would point to and say that that would hang here.
Okay.
Not hanging.
I had a million little moments playing through Zelda, but I think it's distilled so much with Eventide Island, where in that game rewards exploration and experimentation, and that is distilled so much. Like, the exploration side, you see this island out there, and you're like, "Oh, what the hell is that?" And you fly over there, and then it has the reveal of like, oh, you got to figure all this stuff out without your weapons and your armor and all that stuff. So that's amazing. But then when it takes it all away, that's when it lets you do all this weird experimentation. It's like, okay, I don't have all these weapons that I have that are going to break, but how am I going to take down this big Minox or whatever the thing's called? And you can, if it's raining, you can throw the sword next to him, and lightning will strike and kill him, stuff like that. And then, like, how do I get this orb over here? Because there's this water, and I got on this raft, and, like, use my leaf to blow all the way over there. And I think that is the Breath of the Wild experience, kind of, if you had to point at one thing that encapsulates all of that, rewarding the player. I think it's that.
I would even say the other thing about Breath of the Wild that it captures is the mystery and discovery aspect of it.
Yeah,
it's just like stumbling on that island because you see it from a distance and you're like, how am I going to get out there?
And then
like,
the voice talks to you and it's like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, and it's too far to swim to because you run out of stamina, so you have to like improvise a boat solution to get out there. And then
I flew.
Right, that's the thing. There are so many different ways to get there. Like it's all about experimentation and discovery. Like it is a really sublime moment in the game.
Even amid you gushing about that game as you were playing through it, I remember you specifically pulling me aside and be like, I need to tell you about this fucking thing.
You did really love it. You took pictures of it, a lot of pictures of it.
Yeah. And like that was definitely the moment that I feel like stood out the most to you. And it seems like you said, it's a great microcosm of what that game is trying to do.
It was the moment when we were reviewing it that I DM'd Austin Walker, and it was like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I was like, Austin, you know that island in the southeast? Like, just go there. I'm not going to tell you anything else. And he was like, well, I was about to go to bed, but I'll check it out. And like 2 hours later, I got a DM. I was like, this is amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's.
I think that's a very strong contender.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
There are 4 Nier moments on here. I think we can safely let go of 2 of them.
Which ones?
I think Romeo's and Juliet's and Become as Gods probably are not as strong as the other 2.
Romeo's and Juliet's is so fucking good.
It really is.
Good. It's really funny.
Oh my god.
Pisseth off.
Pisseth off is one of the best lines of dialogue ever written.
So for the folks at home, real quick, when you go back to the area where the opera singer boss is afterward, you stumble upon a bunch of the robots putting on this stage play called Romeo's and Juliet's, and it's called that because there are like 7 Romeos and 7 Juliets all kind of delivering dialogue at the same time.
The first line is Romeo, Romeo, or where art thou, Romeo, and then the second one's like Juliet, Juliet, where art thou, Juliet, and then the second one's like there's a lot of Romeos here, and they're just like robots who kind of understand what Shakespeare is.
They're pantomiming their notion of what theater is supposed to be, and of course what it ends in is a giant Donnybrook brawl at the end where all the Romeos and Juliets are just having gang warfare with each other.
And all the writing is like super high-minded or highfalutin, like I shall take thy life.
I like the part after where you have like you're interviewing people and people are like, wow, that was incredible. This is true art, and then one person's like, that sucked.
I would like to see someone put that on stage.
I would pay to go see
also,
Romeo's and Juliet.
It's entirely possible to miss that moment.
I did not see that moment.
I'm glad
I'll tear the shit out of
really
you.
glad I cut that.
Dude, watch that whole clip.
It's pretty funny.
The last robot just self-destructs.
Also, do you have sound off? Because the voice work is half the reason.
Oh, they're talking? That's great. I'm just seeing subtitles here.
I think the robot voices in that game are absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah. And the other like slight subtle detail is that it plays into Yoko Taro's weird love of theater because there is actually a Nier Automata prequel stage play that was put on in Japan featuring a bunch of women in like Yorha outfits and fucking acting out like scenes while the robots explode behind them on a screen.
Okay.
Become as Gods is also really cool. Like that is a big standout moment when you go back to that factory and you find out that like a fucking death cult led by a robot named Kierkegaard has taken over, and then all the robots start suiciding while screaming "Become as Gods."
Where they jump into the fire pit.
Yeah.
All the philosopher bosses in that game just kill me.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff people have dug into.
It's layered in a way that is just bonkers.
The first enemy you fight in that game is named Marx.
Yeah.
Like, it's written in a script that you can't tell. Like, people went back and just dissected it, like, translated it from angelic script, or I just think it's hilarious.
Well, and then, all those other robots are called Engels.
Right,
it's definitely leaning into that stuff.
A lot of that stuff.
I definitely think these are 2 like good moments in the game, but I agree that they can be cut.
I will say the Become as God sequence goes on way too long.
A little too long.
Getting out of that factory takes fucking forever.
You can get lost pretty easily in there, too.
Yeah. That's fine. I think we can let go of those 2 in comparison to everything else.
It's not on this list, but I think it is one of the giant angles that you talk to. The giant like one that wants you to like the one realizes it was a death machine.
Yeah, the one that like gained sentience for the first time, because I think those machines have never generally been disconnected from the network, and it's like it suddenly realizes, one, I'm completely unambulatory, so I'm stuck here, so I'm just pondering existence. and then eventually realizes like I was built for death, and that's really fucked up. So I'm gonna die, and you should just take my parts and use them.
Yeah, that was a real weird sequence.
That was maybe my favorite little small moment in that game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those. Like a lot of the side quests in that game are really something.
The side quest with the wife and husband who are trying to
escape,
and then you find out that she has basically been just
Reprogramming
moving
him.
through husbands,
I know.
Yeah.
like at a break.
I thought it's the same one. Isn't it the same one? She
it the
keeps
same one, or
reprogramming.
is it-
I can't remember.
There's definitely an element of recursiveness there.
Yeah, I thought she's like, don't worry, he won't remember.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll just reprogram him again.
Did you guys find the side quest where you actually meet a Type E android?
Yes.
Like halfway through the game?
Yeah, like it's the android that tells you like, hey, I need you to find out what happened to my partner.
Yeah, so it's just like, hey, somebody's been killing androids. Like, there's a dead android here. They're all over the place. Like, can you investigate? And you do all these side quest steps and finally get back and realize that she is the killer because
Right.
she's a Type E android, which means she's an executioner.
Right. I think she had repressed the memory or something.
Yes.
And it starts coming back and it like literally breaks her brain and
Yeah.
she starts like babbling like evil gibberish.
Yeah.
And the music gets all crazy because like she's been forced to kill her allies over and over.
But I think that all pales in comparison to the whole Pascal arc, which is...
I think we count this from the moment where like his camp gets under attack.
I'd say from when you're quested with going to get the slide, parts for the slide.
Yes.
God.
From there,
I think that's
to
good
the end of it.
context. Pascal is like, oh, the kids in the village.
I
really
don't
wanna
know.
slide.
I feel like it all just culminates in that moment when you know.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the end of it. I'm talking about
Yeah.
like what the breadth
Yeah,
of
I
this
think in this
moment-
case that it is more of a sequence than a moment because I think that sequence of events, like similar to how I felt, I mean, even more so than the other one, the Wolfenstein stuff. I feel like that step-by-step process is what lands the impact of it.
Like by the time you're requested with like, go, hey, can you go get these parts for the slide for these robot kids in our utopian village we have built? We're off the network. We're all cool. Like, things are going great. You leave, and then like if you come back, and some horrible zombie virus has taken over the robots, and all the villagers are eating each other, and like the whole thing is
the big,
burning
like,
down.
snake things.
Yeah,
going
and like so all the
around.
robots are dying. Pascal is kind of having a meltdown.
He's the non-violent robot. He's like a shopkeeper. He's a quest giver.
He's like, we can build a society without violence. And, like, we'll help
he's
you
like
out.
he's an avowed pacifist is the main thing to know.
Comes back to helps you fight in his little donut that flies around, which is weird. But then you come back.
He was
and-
able to save a bunch of the kids too.
So
He is.
So that's why I feel like that later thing is way more profound than the village stuff.
like when you see him again outside.
For me, it was,
Well, yeah, I mean, that
specifically
leads-
when Pascal runs out and is ready to fucking
yeah.
fight.
Yes.
Like, that
Oh,
was,
right.
For me, it was
That
like,
is the apex of it.
okay, this character has betrayed every one of his ideals.
So yeah,
now.
you tell him to go hang out at the old, where they become his gods.
they're in the
factory.
factory.
The factory.
Yeah.
And you go out to the factory and you see just like waves and waves of enemies coming at you, and you fight them and fight them and
It's
fight
like
them.
and Pascal's escaped with like a bunch of the kids.
who are
Yeah.
hiding out.
kids
right.
are all
Hiding out
inside.
inside the factory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then things go bad.
So it's this cascade of failures, where like they've pushed Pascal so far that he has to fight.
yeah, he
which
hacks
he is
into one of
sworn
the
never to do.
giant, whatever type
Angle spot, yeah.
angle spots.
And so he's like controlling it from the head, and it's supposed to be this like very sort of intense, like, all right, badass moment. Finally, Pascal's going to come out here. He's going to do his thing.
I didn't even take it that way though. That's what I'm saying. Is like it felt immensely tragic to me.
Oh,
because
yeah.
It
he
was
didn't
in that
want to
sense,
fight.
but also there is a satisfying moment of him just like him going in with that
Having
fucking
something
robot
to fight
and,
for, realizing
yeah,
like pacifism is good,
is good to
but,
a
like,
point.
Yeah, I need to be able to put my values, or I need to put something behind my values. And
Yeah.
I need to save these children and fight.
And the way they have you do it is like a very satisfying little bit where you are just fucking swinging the
You're
arms.
playing
of
like
the
rock and
guy,
sock and
crashing.
robots.
It's,
Yeah.
it's like another very Metal Gear moment.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
oh, now you're controlling this giant fucking walking tank thing.
Yeah.
And then everything works out really well.
Yeah, and then it's a happy ending, and that's the end of the game.
Oh,
Dude, I had to walk around the block after that point.
So is it? I can't remember. He comes back, and then the kids have all off themselves.
They've all killed
Yes,
themselves.
they've all destroyed their own internal cores, and the reason is because along the way, as he was teaching the kids to be human, he taught them what fear was.
Right.
And that fear took them over to such a degree that they thought they were going to die horribly. They were just like, all right, well, we have to end this.
Yeah, he says he taught them fear because he thought it would help them preserve themselves. Like
Yeah,
it was
to
a
save
survival,
themselves,
a
yeah.
survival skill.
Right. So
But instead, it consumed them, and then
right. So he loses everything,
Yeah.
and then you have this moment where you talk to him outside of. Is it outside the Resistance?
No, it's
base?
right.
It's right there. It's right there in that
right there
room.
in the room.
And you get a choice to basically hack him to erase his memory.
Well, he presents you with that. Like
He basically
choice.
says either wipe my memory or kill me. I don't care.
So I wiped his memory.
Yeah, same here.
Which leads to him going back to the village and selling robot parts. Like he doesn't remember any of it, and he's just basically selling them. He's like, I found all these robot parts.
There's some offhand comment about like this stuff seems familiar. I feel like I know where it came from. But
this robot head?
I can't quite put my finger on it.
Wow.
Anyway, here you go. Here's these body parts.
You're leaving out one of the most vital components of that whole thing, though, is that the sequence where you go in and destroy his memories is one of those hacking sequences, and every time you destroy one of his memories, you hear it playing behind you. The sound of the children's voices and everything that happened in the village. Like you are literally destroying his memories as they are playing out in front of you, and it's
rough,
deeply heart wrenching.
He becomes a store afterwards, and you can actually buy a bunch of cores.
Apparently, you
children
can
cores
walk away from that and not do either of the things.
And he screams at you or
He
something.
I didn't do it.
He's like, A2, you aren't leaving me like this, are you? Please, you have to end this for me. He's just like begging you to
put an end
and
to
I
it.
think he will be back in the village with his memories intact if you do that, right?
Yeah,
I think
he's still.
I think there's a follow up where he continues to.
And he just like he just hates you.
Yeah, he's not happy.
Yeah.
And then the other option is to kill him, which as far as I know, no one I know has actually done that.
I killed him.
You killed him?
Is that just
I
the
would
end of
have
it?
killed him.
I felt like it was as good as dead at that point, and like I'm just
Also, killing is the more human option. You can't wipe a human's memories.
Yeah, but look what being human.
But the most human option is to leave him alive and to reckon with his own grief.
true.
Which if I had realized I could do that, that's probably the way I would have gone.
Yeah, that's probably what I would have done also.
But I will say that, just if you take it at face value and you do that hacking moment, it is profoundly depressing in a way that
it is really rough.
I appreciate it, but also, like I said, I had to get up and walk around the block a few times after that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And then Route E.
Yeah, so Route E, like the end of Route E with the credits is, I think, a really neat gimmick that kind of pays off. So at the end of the game, you are fighting the credits in your spaceship. You are shooting all the credits down.
It's a representation of your pods, which are kind of your little helpers, fighting against the law, the rules, the protocols that are in place to wipe out the androids.
Right. So the protocols are to erase all memory of this thing and start over, and they're basically fighting that back, represented by fighting the credits.
They want to break the loop.
You fight the credits. They can't necessarily it gets to a point where you get overwhelmed and you kind of can't make it through. At least I couldn't. I don't think anybody can. And then
someone has done it. There is video of someone doing it.
I saw people saying that it was actually literally impossible, that they start making your bullets do no damage. And stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I definitely heard from a couple of people that someone had done it, but I can't confirm that one way or the other.
And they build it up every time you die. They kind of text will start showing up on the screen of messages that seem like from out of nowhere, or other players like, "Hey, keep going, I did it," or like, "Give up, cheesecake is good." Just weird things, and it asks you, "Do you want to give up?" And then it'll ask you our game's stupid, or and if you keep saying, I want to keep going, I want to keep going, I want to keep
Do you
going.
admit that life has no meaning?
Yeah, a lot of this stuff, and then eventually it asks you, do you want help? And if you say yes, then all of a sudden the other players will come surround your ship and help you out. The music kind of swells to bring in all these other parts that join in on the same.
There's an ending theme to that game because you finish the game 5 times. But it's in a different language and a different arrangement every time you finish the game, and they start bringing in all those different languages, leapfrogging each other, and then when you accept the help, this, "We Are the World," chorus swells behind the lyrics,
and you just destroy the credits while the other ships are getting picked off, and it just says such and such's data has been deleted, which is kind of rough.
Sorry, 8-4, by the way, for shooting your ass.
And then at the very end, it then asks you, "Hey, do you want to become one of these players that can help the other players?" And to do that, you have to delete all your data and your saves and your progress to do it, which I think is a pretty neat thing, and ties into, I think, a lot of the themes from the game.
And I think
I'm like,
that's the only way.
I totally want to do that. Yeah, that sounds great. And never knowing that they would actually delete my goddamn save.
I believe them.
They went through with it.
And they show you, they go to painstaking lengths to be oh, here's this and that's gone, here's this and that's gone.
Every save slot, not just the one you're playing on.
All your items. I watched Jason play that, and I thought that was handled really well.
Yeah, we had a packed house in the studio at that point.
I think it's the only way to get the actual final scene in the game, right? with the bodies of the 3 androids.
Yes, I believe it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Which is
because
like-
then the implication there is that the loop has been broken,
Like-
and that
probably.
they've saved the memories
They-
of these androids.
They have a chance to break through.
Yeah, and they're
It's
trying. Well, yes.
kind
So
of
they're
the final culmination of the whole thing.
and that they're going to be able to bring them back.
Also, a very cool moment.
Yeah.
I neglected my son for 3 days to get up to that point.
I think it was
And
a
my
really
save's gone.
a really cool moment. I think it's a really neat mechanic, but like in terms of what the game is about, I think the Pascal stuff captures it better. And
Yeah, I still think it's a really awesome moment. I don't think we have to choose between these two.
Not necessarily.
There are 3 slots
I
on
feel
this
like
list.
at a point we will, so we don't have to.
I would
yet.
like to leave both on for now.
Sure.
I think they're both really, really good moments.
I think the opera singer boss from Mario and Rabbids is really incredible. Like we talked about it a couple days ago with the song, all that other stuff. Like the fight itself, kind of whatever. It's actually maybe a little frustrating with the way it's built. But that song, that moment as this boss is singing to you a song that is just lays into everything about the character of Mario and what he is and what he has been, and
really
everything
funny.
from just like how one note he is and how he only has 2 lines of dialogue. References to Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, which they earlier in the game. There's some good Donkey Kong stuff, but like it. In some of the same way that the new Donk City Festival is this weird nostalgic take on Mario, this does that in a really biting way that you would have to go outside Nintendo to get. And so, Ubisoft's like really, they cut to the core of Mario in a way that I really appreciated, and it's like it's a crazy moment that you just don't expect to see in a game. You don't expect to see any level of awareness about how dumb the concept of Mario kind of is, and they nail it. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
This list is getting savage.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Is the introduction of Peach something that's going to hang here? I think that's a cool little moment.
No,
but
it's a great, like, she comes down and just is super fucking badass.
Oh, yeah.
she's got that
Yeah.
fucking shotgun.
Yeah, comes down with that shotgun and just fucks shit up.
Doesn't she just
That
like float
moment-
down on the umbrella?
Yeah.
And just like,
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
way, like it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that moment just made me be like, oh, I want her leading this group. I don't want Mario.
Yeah.
She seems way more competent.
Yeah, I mean, those
Yeah.
2 moments combined, especially at that
Right.
point, you're like, man, fuck Mario. Yeah, the Peach introduction I think is really cool, but it's not top 3.
I might be alone in this, but the Mr. King Dice boss fight to me is one of like the best boss fights ever. Like honestly, so for those of you who don't know, you're fighting on kind of a roulette table looking thing. Mr. King Dice is above you, starts rubbing his hands. He pulls them apart, and a die spawns, and then you have to parry the die and move forward a certain number of spaces. It's very Gunstar Heroes.
Yeah.
It's like you're moving through this board, and every space you land on has a different casino-themed mini-boss, each with their own music, each with their own really unique style. They only have one form, so it's not like you're fighting.
But they're
a
all new
bunch.
bosses. It's not like a boss rush from the.
Yeah, they're all new bosses, and then there's like stuff where certain spots will give you an extra heart. And the second to last spot is like we'll send you back to the beginning of the whole roulette table. You get good enough at like parrying the die where you can kind of move where you want to go. But I just thought that was like, and then you fight King Die at the end, really suddenly too. I like how quickly he's just like, all right, I'm gonna fuck you up now.
It's on the same board that all this rest
Yeah,
of the stuff
so you-
is. And he's like, all right, no more dice. I'm coming down to throw cards at you.
I just really like in a game full of really cool boss fights. It stood out to me as like one of the strongest points in that game. I'm big on boss fights, so like I'm a little bit biased there, but that's what I have to say about that.
I just think the theme of all the little boss fights are awesome. It's like, here's the poker chips, here's the drinks, here's the cigar,
It's like a
here's
horse
the cards,
race.
memory game. Like it's really, really cool.
All right, I think with the way we're talking about some of this other stuff here, I think I'm ready to say let's cut Tekken 7. There's just no way it's going to make it.
I'm fine with that.
It's a really great
it's awesome,
way
but yeah.
to play on that whole history of those characters.
Yep.
Should we also cut the New Donk City Festival?
no, I don't think so.
Really? I like compared to some of these other ones though.
Well, tell me about the "Bury Me, My Love" endings.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Those are brutal. So like the whole game is it's a phone app. And it's designed so it seems like you're texting your wife who is trying to cross the border from Syria into Beirut illegally. And the whole time you're texting her, it's like sort of real time. So it'll be like you'll get a notification that you got a text from her like hours later as though she was actually texting you as it's happening. So most of the story is like pretty mundane stuff. Like, yeah, there's sort of like some tension, but all in all, it's like what a wife and husband would text each other. Like there are literally moments where they're talking about the weather of like, well, it's like raining here, but how is it there kind of stuff. But like you really get to know her and you really get some affection for her through the story. And the endings are fucking brutal. There are like 19 different endings. The one I got the first time was, so the whole game is just these text interactions. Occasionally you'll get like a photo sent, like a selfie, but it's like an illustrated thing. But my ending was she got on a boat to cross the water, and then like you get like a text being like, help, here's my IP address, or I don't know, the
GPS location.
Yeah. And then like you're like, okay, I'll call a ship, and then you don't hear back for a couple hours. Then when you do hear back, the last thing you hear from her is this audio recording of her just being like, hey, like I love you, like crying. You hear like waves splashing.
Ugh.
It's like fucking brutal. And like that's the first time you hear her voice. It's the only time you hear her voice. Like it's implied you never hear from her again. And there's like another ending that's like somebody, she's like, I think someone's following me. Like I think I'm gonna be detained. And then you never hear from her again.
And that's just how the game ends? Like you never see credits or anything?
Yeah.
You just don't get notifications?
Well, I think it's clear that it's the ending.
Okay.
But it's brutal.
I'm looking at like an animation of it or something. How do you get the voice? Is that coming
It's
in as a
like-
phone call?
It comes in as
Like
a
a-
text with like
oh, with
if,
like an
same as if
embedded-
you get like
an embedded
an
thing.
audio
Yeah.
file thing.
So
which
the whole
is like
game,
you hit a play.
the whole game is in this like messaging,
Yeah.
text message looking thing.
It's brutal.
Jeez.
It's very good, but it's brutal.
Are there happy endings?
I think so. They're like 19. I didn't
Oh, wow.
really get through them. I would imagine there's probably at least one or two, but
I also feel like maybe its definition of happy might still be kind of
yeah,
heart-wrenching
I think
in its
I
own
could
way.
see that. It's also implied of like, well, the husband's going to have to try to cross too to join her, and like, will he ever make it? Probably not. Well, also she's probably dead in most of the endings, but yeah,
Jeez.
it's really brutal.
I think the only knock against that one is that I think you might be the only person here who actually played through that game.
Right.
So, like, and I absolutely trust you that the impact on that stuff totally lands. It's just that we just don't have the experience with it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, is that enough to knock it off?
Not
the list?
necessarily. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I
broach
know.
that
I think
point.
that's fair, and it once we get to the end, it probably won't hang because literally no one else has played it. But it's very good and just fucking.
I am
brutal.
interested to play it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
seems
I
really
You
cool.
were you telling me about it the other day, and I downloaded it. I haven't gotten to it yet.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually know about it until just now.
It's really good. Yeah, it's very good.
Well, on a slightly different tonal note, tell me about Damien's third date.
Okay, here we go. Vinny's played this too.
I did, yeah.
So there's a goth dad in Dream Daddy, and he loves like Victorian era stuff from like head to toe. So like he's always dressed in Victorian garb. He will not text you. He'll only write letters to you
With wax seals.
with wax seals.
There's lightning
His-
every time he comes onto the
Yes,
scene.
his house is like very Victorian era. Like he's like embodies and lives that style. And then you get to his third date, and halfway through he gets a call, and he's like,
I got split.
yeah, I have to go. And you're like, can I come? Can I help? And he's like, okay, sure, fine. And then he goes to this like dog shelter, and then he like steps out for a minute, and you still hear all the like thunderclaps and everything as he leaves. And then he comes back, and he's in like a polo and
Tucked
jeans.
into his khakis.
Yeah, and he has like a name tag, and he's just like a normal dude. And he's like, yeah, you know, like the Victorian stuff's a big part of my life, but it's not the only part of my life. And like, I didn't know when to tell you or how to tell you or whatever. Like, I like shopping for hardware sometimes.
Right.
And like, this
I
is-
volunteer at this dog shelter.
Yeah, I volunteer at the dog shelter.
And like, don't be disappointed in me.
Right.
Like, I'm not just your Victorian goth guy.
Right.
And you're kind of like, no, this is okay.
Yeah.
This is way okay.
Like you're not just a one-dimensional
No, just like
vampire.
not being the Victorian thing is like
Right.
He like thinks you're going to be super disappointed that that's not all that he's into.
That's cute. I like that.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's good.
There's actually I like the second date probably where his kid tries to brick up the other kid in the school
I think that's the
cask of
first
Amontillado
date.
style
Yes.
because he promises another kid wine
and then
his kid lures him to the basement while he slowly tries to encase him in brick.
And then the other dad for that kid who was getting encased was like, but you
What?
sat there for 20 minutes. He's like, I wanted wine.
Which I think is also
I
very,
know.
very funny.
Dream Dad is a good game.
And then you realize that he's like an awesome dad because he doesn't
Right.
he's like, hey, we don't have to
I
go back to
know.
therapy. Like, yeah.
Like, just talk about it if you want to.
Yeah, it's a very good part. I don't know if
It probably won't hang.
it probably
in the
won't
end.
stay on here,
I think
but
it's
like
worth talking about.
he was like going through that arc with him was awesome.
Yeah.
Like that is a very fun. And then you go on this stupid dog chase where you
Right.
where the lady draws a map and calls your house Nerd House.
Right.
And then was it his house? Was other nerd's house?
It was-
his
no,
house.
somebody else.
She's friends
She
with him.
likes
She
him.
likes him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Whose
right.
house? Nerd's house.
Nerd's house. Which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The writing in that game is very good.
It's very good.
But
yeah, I think it can go. I like it a lot, but I think it can go. How are we feeling on a chicken dinner?
I love the
man.
chicken dinner this
Yeah.
year.
I think it's a
I-
pretty strong
Yes.
contender here.
This is one of those things where every once in a while something comes along that is not necessarily a scripted or designed moment. It's more just about the feeling and imbued in the player. And I don't think anything compared that way this year than getting a chicken dinner for the first time.
And to be clear, I don't I don't think we're talking about any one specific
No.
time.
No.
No,
any of us
sure.
got one.
It's your
right?
first time.
Yeah.
Or just getting
Or
the
just any time.
chicken
It's
dinner.
always exciting.
I would almost go as far as to say getting a kill in that game should be on this
Yeah.
list.
But I think chicken dinner is the stronger moment. Like
But,
that first
yeah.
time you
Okay.
get it.
I mean, it's the
such a
culmination
release.
of
Yeah. In that final like 10 minutes when you're like, oh my god,
Dude.
or the final like 10
Yeah.
people, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm still alive. I don't think anyone sees me. You get a beat on someone. You get
very
a jump,
tense.
like,
Like-
yeah,
You have that
Using-
feeling of like this might happen, and
Yeah,
now
your
that I've
heart's
thought
beating.
that, I'm
Like-
fucking
like-
it up.
yeah.
Using
yeah.
a term like heart pounding usually sounds super cliched, but
Yeah.
it's like literal. In
It's the
that.
only
yeah.
time, the only game that made my heart actually pound.
And
over.
there's just like I feel like a million different options running through your head of like, should I stand up? Should I crouch? Should I get down? Should I go
Yeah.
down? Should I use this gun? I don't know. This gun has long range. This one's got
Throw
power.
a grenade.
Should I leave the house now or should I not leave the house? Like, I
Yeah.
get into the circle. Do I want to stay in the middle of the circle? Do I want to creep up on the circle?
Nothing gives me flop sweats like the very end of one of those matches.
Yep.
Should you stay in the car? Yes.
I
Always stay in the
can't
car.
believe I'm saying this, but I think compared to everything else, or at least most of whatever else is on here, I don't know if these Yakuza moments are going to end up hanging. Like, Majima's debut is such a good introduction for
Yes.
that character. It sets the stage for what he was before he eventually turns into the thing that he becomes in the rest of that series. And, like, it's the coolest introduction you could possibly give to someone like him.
It's done with a lot of flair too.
So much.
Yeah.
But also the introduction of that with Snake Guy is pretty good. What is it? The guy he kicks the knife into his leg.
Yes, the guy that he sort of adopts the crazy personality
Oh,
from.
the red
yeah.
jacket guy,
Yeah.
the troublemaker
He
in the
throws the
club.
knife in the air and then like kicks it with his leg into the other
Yeah.
guy's leg is pretty good.
Like the reveal there is that a lot of why Majima is totally crazy in the later games is that is the events of this game sort of brought him to a point where he needed to affect a personality that would make him much more untouchable. And so one of the people he pulls from is this gangster dude he interacts with a few times who is basically the Yakuza equivalent of the Joker.
very weird.
And it's like in this case the debut to me is the most standout scene, but
Oh yeah.
like Kuze in the Sewer is a really great introduction to a boss fight, but then it's just like a fairly normal boss fight in that
Yep.
game. It's just a great cutscene.
And it doesn't even really resolve anything.
Yeah.
No, it's just a surprise of him on a motorcycle with a pipe.
And you see all those
And it's-
giant tattoos.
It's a
Put it that
great
way.
surprise.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, I think the other stuff on here might beat it out.
All right.
Okay, I'm just going to put this out here.
Mm-hmm.
If we can maybe shortcut our way there, if we're really being honest about it, is this list the 2 Nier moments and the chicken dinner?
No, absolutely not.
Even tied, I feel
like-
very strongly about
I
it.
like those 2 Nier moments a lot,
I
but
fucking love Nier, but I don't know if I can hang with both Nier.
Okay, then which one
moments.
are we cutting?
That's a really fucking hard question.
Man.
I think Rowdy E is the stronger one.
You
I
do?
think you might be right.
Like
I don't know.
Pascal
I'd probably
thing-
take
for me,
I'd take
for me, the Pascal
moment.
stuff is stronger just because they both of them involve building up to these moments, right? Like Rowdy is a kind of a culmination of everything. But like, if you want to talk about the central themes of Nier and just like seeing a direct visual characterized representation of a lot of the themes of the game. Like Pascal's arc, I think, is one of the better arc of a video game character's.
I kind of put in context, like just like the whole arc of that.
I do think it does
that game.
That whole thing does sum up.
Yeah. But they reached opposite outcomes though, because like Nier is a game about like ethnic hatreds and cycles of violence, and like Pascal is a character succumbing to those cycles, and Route E is the successful,
the finally breaking the cycle.
Like, to me, the uplifting moment of finally breaking free of that shit is way more profound.
The only thing that maybe like puts Route E slightly lower on my list is the notion that they have done the save deletion thing before, and they did it in a much more explicit way in the original Nier, which is that, you know, like that game is much more just about kind of sacrifice for you know, a lot of things, and they have you sacrifice your save in that game as a very direct tie-in to those themes. I think the way they do it in this game totally works.
Yeah, and a lot
fits.
of it is the presentation for me.
Yeah.
It's less the mechanic of having to you are having to give something up, but
right.
It is more the way it's presented.
I'd probably also say that like the mechanics of shooting the credits, you know, like obviously it has to be long for it to mean something, but at some point you're just like, all right.
Well, once you accept
the slide,
once you accept the help, you really kind of blast through it.
Yes.
Also,
and like, that's a very satisfying thing.
Jason, which one did you pick with Pascal? Did you hack him?
Yeah, I hacked the hell out of him. Sorry, man.
Like they want it.
And then
to
he
be,
flew off like a rocket.
They want the credits to be insurmountably difficult right up until you say like, yes, I need help.
Also, there's a bit of catharsis in shooting the credits after having seen them a bunch. Like I was ready to
it feels good to just destroy all that shit.
But I don't know. The Pascal stuff is talking through it here. I was kind of more rowdy before coming in here, but then talking through it, realizing that is kind of a good distillation of what Nier is going for.
Makes it really coherent.
Yeah, like kind of like as we talk through it, realize like, oh, okay, I think this is the kind of the major theme of like, what is it? Why are you trying to teach people to be or robots to be human? Like all the flaws in that, and what a horrible end that will have. Maybe hits it a little bit more than the Route E stuff, which I think is a really neat gimmick and mechanic.
It's an incredible coda.
very uplifting and a cool thing.
But it could be just the opposite for you, Brad, which is just like the dark thing.
That's the thing.
Just kind of stuck with me more than
ending on that kind of downer is like
it's really sad.
I don't know.
I will say, as someone who hasn't finished the game, hearing about Pascal makes me want to play it far more than hearing about the proper ending.
Yeah.
It does delete all your saves.
I don't know. I think that's one of those cases where like summing up what Route E is to somebody
Sure. I mean,
like sells it really short.
Yeah, I did watch it.
Yeah, you've
but
seen
sure.
it and you know, yeah. You know, when it's taken you 30 hours to get there.
No, I totally get that.
30 hours just wasted.
You delete Pascal.
I did that in like 3 days. Oh my god.
It's not wasted, man.
Oh.
You're helping someone else.
I want to go back and do some of the side quests though, but I can't now.
But that's the thing, is you can just play it again. That's what I started doing.
I'm going to play Nier again, just from the beginning.
I guess for me, like the Pascal stuff feels like one very important step in a long journey.
True.
A vital one, for
and
sure.
Route E is the culmination of like absolutely everything.
I could go with that. I really like the way the.
I don't just mean the credit stuff. I mean like what does it consider Route E?
It's the credits.
Like I'm trying to think.
Is it part of the like fading off into?
Because I guess
Oblivion
making the 9S A2 choice is technically considered
Those are
C and D.
But there's also like the bits with the pods where they're kind of talking to each other, and
that's definitely
that's part of E.
Yeah.
Right, like defying their programming.
Yeah, because like that is the moment that even the pods like develop some level of self-awareness,
which is a thing that they have been very subtly building to, with like
right.
the two pods start interacting with each other and starting to realize like they're actually starting to realize things versus just sort of taking input commands.
Like I think that's why that whole sequence is so much bigger than just the credits, because like literally everybody finally like throws off their shackles and
kind of figures it out.
I feel like
and like embraces like the possibility of a better future.
Both of these moments have choices, but I feel like the choice of what you do to Pascal is such a it's so
brutal.
one of the hardest things to do. Like, I mean, the choice of whether or not you're going to help someone else by deleting your save, you're like, oh, I feel obligated to choose helping everyone. But when it comes to Pascal and when it comes to the clear, like, there is no right answer here. This is like a good representation of life. Like, this is like
someone's entire existence has essentially just been undone in front of them, and they're like, yes, you have these choices, but they all essentially result in, if not a completely altered existence, then non-existence. And that's, that is one of the big things that game is getting at, is like, is it better to continue to exist in, in this sort of cycle, in this sort of, trapped sense of the world.
Yeah. And that fight with the Inglesbots just like slamming into each other.
Yeah. Like, it builds you up really well to tear you the fuck down.
Yeah, that feels bad.
You can buy the children's cores.
Yeah,
Their essence, their soul. And
You
then sell
can.
it for more money than you.
Yeah.
And that's,
You can just flip child corpses.
and that's capitalism.
Been there.
I think the only one that immediately stands out is like probably not going to hang here is the opera singer boss from Mario Rabbids. Like, I think that is a great moment. It's probably the best moment in that game.
I just read like all the lyrics. It's very funny.
Yeah. It's very good. It's very, very good.
It's very good.
It's deeply surprising even.
Yeah.
I'm avoiding the lyrics because I want to see that in the game. It sounds pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the New Donk Festival, but like,
it's so good.
I don't know.
I don't think it's top 3.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
top
It
3.
didn't stick with me in the same way that a lot of this other stuff did.
That's just the most. I'm
I think
fine
it's
cutting
delightful.
it.
Oh,
It's
man.
the
It's a
most
delightful
fun
thing.
I've had in a video game.
It's probably
this year.
the most joyous thing
Yeah.
I saw in a game all
It made
year.
me happier than anything in
Yeah,
games this
totally.
year.
Like, I was talking the other day during music, like, just listening to that song again is like so uplifting.
Yeah.
I just don't think it was that kind of year, man.
Which is why
it resonates.
Yeah, that's
because you
That's
fucking
why
need it.
I needed this.
Yeah.
I've kind of had the opposite feeling where like the stuff that sort of maybe, I don't know, at the very least kind of reverberated on the same wavelength of everything else going on this year, like maybe hit me a little harder.
Like, I don't know. I've never thought of games as escapism the way that some people do, but like this was the year where I was like, all right, this is the place that I get away from everything else because I'm getting plenty of that over there.
Yeah, I totally see that as a very fun, happy sequence as compared to some of these, which are pretty
are all
much
pretty
bummers.
Dan, I'd like to get your opinion on Mario compared to Eventide, because that seems to be your like.
Eventide's my number one.
Okay.
That is definitely my number one. I love New Donk City. Like, that thing just made me so happy. But that was kind of the difference between Mario and Zelda to me. Like, Mario was a game that made me extremely happy, and it was just a joy to play. But Zelda was this, like, much deeper thing to me, where it's like, oh my god, this is, like, affecting me in a way that, like, a game hasn't since Link to the Past. It's a much deeper appreciation of, in that moment, it encapsulates all that. So yeah, I do put Zelda Eventide above New Donk City.
Eventide and PUBG are the two on here that are like uniquely video gamey.
Yeah.
Like, they're both like expressions of game mechanics, whereas most everything else is like more just presentation and story.
Right.
Except for, I think Mr. King Dice, like that boss fight also has, like, mechanically, it seems like it is a very cool thing.
I also say Rudy has a
Actually,
has
I was
That's a good
actually
point.
not to turn this into a big horse trade, but
Yeah, that's a good point.
Rowdy definitely has that aspect too.
I really liked Eventide Island, but I wasn't as amazed by it. I think I was like, oh, this is a cool thing, and then I didn't really think about it again as I played the game.
I had an unfortunate situation around it. I was telling people before we were recording where that was one of the first things I found in that game, and so I was trying to do it over and over with 3 hearts, and that is a very challenging. That's the one thing that does carry over in that island is how many hearts you have. So I was just constantly dying, and I was slamming my head against it, and so I just eventually left. I would like to go back. I have to play more Zelda eventually, and I think I would appreciate it more, but I just had a poor circumstance around it.
I think I was just amazed because, like, at that point, I was probably like 30 or 40 hours into the game. And even at that point, the game kept surprising me time after time. And I was just like, how the fuck does it keep doing this? And then to find this one thing that's like, this is way bigger than all the other surprises. Like, this is insane. Yeah. Like, yeah, it came at a really good time for me.
I don't think I ever landed on it.
No.
It's so crazy.
No, I should
so
go
cool.
check it out.
This is totally a digression, but I turned that game on for 10 minutes this morning and saw something that I have never seen in 70 hours, like in 10 minutes.
I want to get that game for my Switch.
You've never played Zelda?
I played it on my Wii U, but now
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
Switch,
yeah,
and I'm
totally.
like, I kind of want to play again.
That's the
I-
thing.
that's what I'm gonna do.
I did the 70 hours on the Wii U, and now I'm playing it again. Like, it's.
Are you really?
Yeah, totally, dude.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, we'll get into it later.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I don't want to denigrate Bury Me My Love. It sounds like that game does the thing that it's trying to do very effectively. I think the lack of us playing it is maybe
You convinced me to check it out, except for the part where it sounds crushingly sad.
It's awful, but good. Like, I think it's really important. I also think it did a really good job of kind of addressing current social issues without being too on the nose or too heavy-handed. Like, it's very effective. It's really good. It's touching and sad. Like, it's a shame that it's going to go because no one's played it. Like, that sucks.
It doesn't have to. I mean, like, you can make the case for it.
I mean,
that cannery sequence I watched looked like it did a lot of stuff visually. Like, so is the writing in Bury Me, My Love supported by the gameplay and stuff? Like, could you just have read can I read a short story and get it? Or is it like, it's the gameplay?
No, I think, like, feeling like you're actually texting someone, feeling like you have a rapport with someone,
like
and
they
having
justify it all
spread out over, like, multiple days. Like, I think I probably was, like, texting her for, like, a week before I got the ending. And, like, that is impactful. I felt like there was a real investment in it. I felt like she was a real person. So, like, when it ends like that, that's like, you know? And, like, it felt... I felt a loss not texting her anymore.
Okay. Would you take it over that cannery one? I haven't played
I don't want it to be one or the other. I guess I would do the cannery over this if I had to pick one or the other.
Well, what are your top 3 right now?
The Carry Me, Bury Me, or the Cannery, Bury Me, and then I guess Pascal. I haven't played that, but it seems cool.
That cannery thing seemed cool.
It is cool.
You guys have made that seem
awesome.
It's the best part of the
I
game.
think that should be in the top 3.
Yeah.
So
I'm fine with that, having never played it.
Mine is New Donk, Eventide, and Chicken Dinner.
for me, Chicken Dinner, I think it's a cool moment, and I think it's an exciting moment, but I don't think it's as impactful as a lot of these other moments. It's not a moment I like think about anymore after the fact, which is maybe not what this is about.
Yeah,
but
I'm kind of with. I have to preface this by saying I never got a chicken dinner.
I got one and it was unsatisfying.
That being said, I posed the question to you guys, like, years from now, if you're recommending somebody a video game, do you think saying like, and they don't know anything about Nier, or I'm just going to use Nier as an example. They don't know anything about Nier. They don't know anything about PUBG. Are you going to be like, oh, you have to play PUBG once you get your first kill? Ooh, it's going to be like.
I would
these are
recommend
2017
PUBG
rewards,
over
though.
Nier.
I think that's not.
But I think best moment is something that sticks with you. Like
we have a best story category.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like that's what I was kind of getting with the Bury Me stuff is like, is it like that moment that has built up with the game? Like, and
I
it
do
sounds
think
like you
it
make
is
the
built
case
up.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can't deny the zeitgeist around like getting a chicken dinner, especially early on when PUBG was like first kind of hitting it was huge, and like I was motivated to do it.
Right.
I can't deny that.
Like watching that cannery sequence, like I looked it up on here. It seems like the way it's almost like a Brothers-esque kind of thing of like letting you control all that stuff.
Yeah, that sounds
like
really cool.
The story of it maybe isn't as impactful versus like how they unravel that and present
it is. Like
It seems like a really cool representation of this impactful story.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a pretty elegant way to depict somebody's
That's what I mean.
sentence
So,
and
like,
mental illness and
so
suicide.
I think the moment of it maybe is even more than the story of it, right? So
totally. Yeah, the way it's presented is
Most definitely.
So as for PUBG, I'll say that I've been playing multiplayer shooters for so long, and it's all just kind of a blur of kills and deaths and weapons and upgrades and stuff. It all just kind of, like, oh yeah, I remember playing a bunch of Call of Duty 4, but I can't tell you like, oh yeah, there was that one time I got that one crazy kill. Yeah. Whereas the chicken dinners I've gotten, I remember every single circumstance. I remember seeing that guy sneak past the thing and thinking, oh, he doesn't see me, I've got the drop on him. Like, I remember every single one of those, and those are singular moments.
That game comes to a head in a way that no shooter I have ever played does.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Sure.
Yeah, it's probably one of the only games I've ever like taken a screenshot of.
I totally have a folder of chicken dinners.
Yeah.
Like,
Every
just,
chicken dinner I've ever gotten is in a folder.
this is nobody's gonna believe me, or like somehow I need to like pass this on to my children, or like
You need to look at this wild shit that just happened.
or like they need to know. People need to know I got a chicken dinner.
Is there anyone else that thinks King Dice is top 3?
I didn't play it. I didn't get up to it.
I've seen that sequence and I think it's fucking rad.
Well, actually, you and I played some of it.
We played a little bit.
But I don't know that I would. Part of me is it's hard for me to shake this feeling of like, oh yeah, Gunstar Heroes, okay, cool. Like I definitely keep doing that every time I look at it.
Better.
It's maybe the coolest part in a really good game, but I would pick a few others. But
I think we can cut that one then.
We have to cut 5 of these eventually. So
Counting that one?
it was one of them. Yeah.
Okay. Now we need to cut 4.
I think the New Donk Festival goes. I'm not happy about it. I think that thing is a delight, but I just, for me, it just doesn't compare with like most of the other things on this list.
Man,
I don't know, like that impacted me way more than, any like serious story moment in a game this year.
Yeah.
Like I was just happy playing that.
Yeah, it was just like I was already having so much fun with Mario.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this game is a pure joy. This game is exactly what I need. It's a palate cleanser. It's perfect at like breaking me out of slumps in other games. It's perfect for just like if I have 15 minutes to play some games, I can get like 2 moons, and then like it built to like I was like, but what it was lacking for me was any big moment. It was lacking any sort of like big objective you were
A
working
lot of it
to.
feels trivial.
Yeah. And then this was the one moment where it was like you're building that band and you don't really realize what's going on. They keep mentioning this festival and you're like, well, is it just going to be a bunch of people? I was picturing more of like what happens on the food planet when everyone shows up.
When everyone
and just
shows up and cook stuff.
hanging out.
Yeah.
I was expecting that with like maybe some characters and throwbacks. But like as soon as that song starts and you go in the pipe and you're upside down, like I like the upside down
Yeah.
stuff. I'm sorry.
I
think it's fine.
You know,
You don't have to
there is
apologize.
kind of a lot of it in there.
for something that like is so reverent in so many other ways. Like that's the one thing where I'm like, it's not.
But at the same level, like I could understand cutting it because like it was rather short. Like it was like this intense happy moment I felt, but then as soon as I was done with it, I was like, I'd like to play this again maybe some other time, but it just kind of.
I didn't feel like the need to see it again.
I did. I played it multiple
and I
times.
was
so happy
played it
I
twice
still
total.
don't play it.
but at the same time, I would say like it's a really good and some of this is what I got out of the Mario and Rabbids boss fight, right? It's this very touching look at everything, at a lot of what Mario has been since I don't know 1980, whatever it is, 1981, and to touch on a lot of that stuff along the way, to reference that stuff so directly as someone who has been there for all of that stuff, was just fucking powerful.
Yeah. Like I grew up on Mario. That was the first game I remember playing, and it's a huge part of the reason that I love this industry and want to work in it. And like just to see that celebration of that just really did make me happy.
They do it in a way that like I feel like they've probably tried to do before. Like Mario will touch on its past, but not like this. This is the purest, like most well realized.
And I just remembered like the moment before leading up where all the power is gone, and Pauline was like, "Hey, do you have any experience working she doesn't say plumbing exactly, but she's like,
Can't remember.
She like alludes to like, hey, you're used to like going down pipes and stuff, so you have to go down to the yeah.
And it's Pauline.
Yeah.
Like that's weird.
Yes.
Like they're referencing Mario material that they never really touch on, and paying this tribute to the full breadth of it in a way that I thought was like really incredible, and in a way that like that so much of that game feels like it plays around with expectations and is doing things that the previous Mario games haven't done. I feel like they nailed this part as well in a way that like the original makers of Mario could never have done. This is a game that you look at and go like, this is the people that have been kind of handed the torch in a sense.
Yeah.
This is them saying this is what Mario has meant to them.
Like paying respects.
Yeah. And I think that's something that like if it was just the same old brain trust that has been cranking out Mario games for a lot of years, you would never get that type of reflection. And I think that that's the thing that makes it stand out so much, is that it's informed by Mario's past, it's a reflection of that past, and I for what's kind of a tossed off frivolous little moment, like it's really fucking powerful, and that was really impressive. I kind of knew it was coming, and it was still like incredibly impressive to see.
We'd all heard that song before and everything. Like
I had
festival.
It made me like that song.
I had not heard it.
It's a bad song, but
Yeah.
The song's fucking great.
Yeah.
Also, I realized it probably was like a lot of new blood that worked on that game. It wasn't like the core of that team, also the team that made Mario Sunshine.
I
It's
mean,
some
that's-
galaxy.
That's news to me.
Yeah, it's a mix. It's definitely a
I'm
mix.
just saying, could this also just be them apologizing for having almost ruined the entire Mario lineage?
I
I'm
look
gonna
at
apologize
it,
for a masterpiece, Alex.
I think you kind of look at it more as the same story that's been across Nintendo in terms of like, hey, they're putting new faces in, or not necessarily new to the company. These are people that have been there a long time, but new people are getting the spotlight,
right?
And you get the impression from this game and from Zelda that they're calling shots that I think the creators, the original creators, left to their own devices, probably would not have called, and they paid off. Like it's risk that works, as opposed to Mario Sunshine, which is risk that does not work on any level.
I was just wondering where Donkey Kong was the whole time. Is his corpse like frozen somewhere? Like what happened?
Is the pixelated Donkey Kong?
No,
hanging out?
I mean,
like
he's
the
a lawyer
now.
It's the thing they fucked up by making Donkey Kong Country and splitting that continuity off into its own thing. Is they got Donkey Kong away from this stuff. Like in an ideal world, these games would flip-flop between like Bowser and Donkey Kong, and then occasionally they would team up and you'd be fucking blown away.
I mean, they kind of abandoned that. Even like the 3 NES, Super Mario Brothers, and World. Donkey Kong's nowhere. Before Donkey Kong Country,
that's where they fucked it up.
Yeah, like at the end of that
started
festival,
fucking it up.
they should like bring Donkey Kong out and like everybody throws hammers at him, right? And then like they put him. I mean, it is. Well, I mean, it's New Donk City. I don't know what. Like, did he start it and then Pauline beat him in an election? Like what? Like it's
because like all the streets are named after like Donkey Kong Country stuff.
like what happened? Like, what dark history is there with this celebration? So, like, the whole thing was kind of tinged for me in, like, some dark, like, facade over a really, really, like, it was brutal. Like,
the celebration ends with the murder of Donkey Kong.
Like Pauline lifting his heart up in the air and, like,
And Mario's like, Mario up there dancing while she's singing. He's a little, like, stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I saw Dan was jumping on her head, so he kind of ruined it for me. It's just bouncing on her
Would
head
it
all the
be
time.
valuable at all to just, again, take a non-binding poll here, just of like what everyone's 3 would be of this batch?
I feel like the spread's gonna be wide.
Well, I feel like
Also, I can't pick 3 right now. Like,
I can pick
I couldn't
3.
even
I can
answer
pick
that
3.
question.
Yeah.
Are there any that you definitely wouldn't pick?
Me?
Yeah, because if you can't
geez.
pick 3, is there one that's like, well, that's not even in the running for me?
Man.
I think the Edith Finch stuff I think is really cool, but I think it gets overpowered by a lot of the other stuff here.
Yeah.
See, that's the one
Wow.
that, like, there's a few of these on here that I haven't done. I've only had described to me, and of those, like, comparing, like, the cannery sequence to Bury Me, My Love, like, I'm way more excited to play Edith Finch than Bury Me.
Like, yeah, out of the ones I haven't seen, which includes Eventide, the Cannery one, which I just watched the clip for on here, just seems like that it looked like, and again, not having played or led up to it, had that like Brothers-esque kind of like control stuff moment that you can only get in video games, right?
Yeah,
Right, yes,
it is
exactly,
kind of a
yeah.
marriage of gameplay and story that,
And that's always
Yeah.
impressive
And
to
it's
me.
the best
really well.
example of that in that game by
Absolutely.
far.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's my number one.
like, other parts of that game didn't work for me as super well, but this is the one part where it really comes together.
And that's always impressive to me when somebody does something that's like, you can't get this anywhere else. Like, you can only really kind of go through this in a video game because of the medium. And then for me, it would be like Chicken Dinner and then one of the Nier ones, which I'm still on the fence about.
I could live with that list for sure. That's
That-
rough because I don't.
I
want-
like that list.
I don't want to see the Zelda or Mario thing go, but
I mean, Zelda, it's between Eventide Island and Cannery Sequence for my third one here. Like, I think that one of the Nier ones has to be on there, and if I had to pick, it would be Rudy.
yeah, I'm with you on that.
And I think that Chicken Dinner has earned its place on here.
I think, as the
Chicken
one
dinners.
person who didn't get a chicken dinner, even I'll say,
I mean, but you definitely got close to the end of the
Yeah.
match.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
You know the
for,
feeling.
For me, it's actually like less winning. Like, I actually don't
No,
care
it's
that
not.
much.
It's
I mean,
winning.
no, it's really not.
I'm trying to make
Like-
Ben feel all right.
Like,
I
winning
get it, Brad,
matters.
I'm bad at games.
But the sense that you were able to overcome the overwhelming tension of that moment and actually
Yeah.
pull it out.
I mean,
is-
winning is an incredible moment of release and blah 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 whatever. But like, it's really the feeling of fear and tension and like
Yeah.
the heightened state that your mind is working in, like you were saying, like all the different choices
Yeah.
you can make at any given moment. Like, there are so many different things, and like you have no time to second
Analysis
guess.
paralysis.
But the moment is when you get that kill
Yeah,
and you see it
it's-
pop up.
it's
And like,
great.
I jumped out of my chair every time it
It's
happened.
great, but like I don't know, it's almost more of an adrenaline junkie thing for
Yeah.
me. Of like, I enjoy the tension, like the fear, more than actually winning.
And like every time I didn't get one, I always felt like I made the wrong choice. Like,
Yeah.
in and
Yeah,
out. I
it's-
shouldn't have been laying down, or like, I should
that's-
have left the house.
I think that's every death for me in that game is
but
immediately-
especially when the stakes are so high at the end,
Yeah.
and you're just like, you're second guessing yourself constantly. Like, oh shit, now should I move? Should I get up and take the shot now? And you get up and take the shot and realize that there was the other guy was right behind you, and then you're like, God Damn it! I should have.
Yeah.
So if we theoretically have chicken dinner, a Nier moment, and one more.
The cannery.
I thought that
man.
cannery thing looked really neat, even without a
It's
setup.
awesome.
Yeah, it seemed really.
I
Neat.
think just given that I've watched people play the Eventide Island thing, and I've heard joyous expressions of it. I have not experienced it myself. I think I maybe lean cannery as well, just because that was a moment that I played and very much stuck with me this year.
Yeah.
I think
I
we got to
could
keep
see
Mario
it.
and Zelda.
I could see this list. I like the new Donk stuff quite a bit, but if you don't feel the same way, then I could see cutting it.
I actually hate to see Mario and Zelda go.
I would take Eventide over New Donk,
Like
but
this-
like
this
like,
list
I didn't do Eventide Island, but that sounds like the last thing in the world I want to do.
wow.
I think it's crazy to lose New Donk.
Yeah.
But then again, I also think y'all are crazy for the PUBG stuff. So
Yeah, I don't love it either, but I see the point they're making.
That sounds like someone that maybe
Yeah.
didn't win one.
or even play it.
Okay, all right. Now the truth comes out.
Okay, wait. Okay. So
I think we can safely, and again, I'm not trying to be dismissive here, but I think we can safely let go of New Donk and Bury Me May Love.
And Eventide.
No, not even.
I think there's more support for New Donk than Eventide.
Yeah, I
Really?
think there is too.
I think there. Does
Wow.
sound, does sound
I
like in the room.
don't, but
I haven't played the Eventide stuff, but I also have not a strong love for that New Donk portion. Maybe because I saw it in the quick look before I did it. I don't know. It was neat.
So I'll say that that's where I saw it also, as I caught it in a
Yeah,
quick look.
I caught the end of it. I was walking up and you were watching it.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I wish I hadn't seen that. But then doing it, it was like it was
It's still cool. It's still neat. I almost wish that you played more of the games in a sequence, but I get what they were doing. Go from Donkey Kong to 1-1.
That'd be
you know?
awesome, yeah.
Yeah, but I get it. I think also there was something weird where at the end when you reach Donkey Kong, you don't actually drop him into.
Does
the
he
thing.
not do the fall?
I don't think so. I think
can't
he,
remember.
Yeah,
I think he just falls he goes upside down.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah, and
a-
you just climb
I
the
think you
ladder.
touch him or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You knock out the blocks under him.
That's right.
In
Yes.
that sequence.
That's
Okay.
not how you fight Donkey
That's
Kong.
what I'm saying.
No.
That's what I'm saying. They don't remember. They don't remember how.
All right,
it
so
was.
this sequence is
your
bullshit.
revisionist
Take it outta
history.
here.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we can get rid of Bury Me My Love.
And Donkey Kong.
You mean New
Or
Donk?
New Donkey Kong?
I think that's.
I would rather see Eventide go first.
But I think Eventide is also going. I don't.
Eventide's my number one
I
with a
don't see
bullet.
that's on here.
Sure, cut them both at the same time.
Yeah, that's kind of that's where I'm at with
Are
it.
we also just doing Route E?
I thought we were
I think that's
still-
Pascal. I really think that's Pascal.
I feel like
I
we
really think
don't
it's
we don't
Rudy.
normally like to do vote stuff, but I feel like
Yeah.
for 2 moments in a game like this,
I'm kind of with you.
I mean, do the people who didn't get to those parts do it?
yeah,
I think we've heard about it.
I mean,
now. we saw the ending.
Yeah.
I think Cannery Sequence should make it, and I haven't played that game.
Okay.
Who wants to start?
I vote for Pascal.
Have you learned nothing from the last 12 months, Alex? Never enter into an election that you're not sure you can win.
I didn't say it had to be binding. I'm just curious to know what the votes are.
They have the votes.
Are we
They
going
have-
with-
They have the votes, Brad.
Are we
I
going
would-
with popular vote here?
I can't.
I would vote Pascal.
I would maybe go Pascal.
Oh, Vinny,
Yeah.
you're killing me.
Yeah, this
know.
is
You're
it's
killing me.
so Route E.
Yeah.
It's so
1,000%.
Rudy's very good.
Rudy,
the
you made me
point of
think
the
of
whole
Smash
game.
Brothers, and that's a knock against it.
Oh well, then I'm changing my vote to Rudy.
It's also like Star Fox 64.
Yeah. Again, also changing
God
my vote to
damn it.
Pascal.
Say,
Star Fox 64 is great.
it's so
Other
good.
games where you shoot the credits have been bad.
No.
Actually, Smash Brothers, the
It's
first
really good.
one. Had something.
I teared up.
There's
I
some-
teared up during both these moments, honestly.
There's just something so haunting and resonating about the Pascal thing that makes, when we talked about it, thinking back to it was like, yeah, that really was a moment. Versus I think the Route E stuff, which again, coming into this, I think was my moment. But then thinking back to the actual emotion attached to that Pascal thing made it a much more memorable, interesting story for me to tell. And I think the Route E stuff, I was very impressed that, I mean, I think they commit on both of those, right? They really go for it. I think that deleting all your saves is a very bold thing that
Yeah.
is they somehow work into the game's story in a way that I think is interesting. But
And
also,
it's justified, I think.
I think it is justified. I think the Pascal stuff, though, they also just commit to destroying this character that you have seen. And I didn't like Pascal that much. Like, Pascal was a very weird character for me. Of like, oh, okay, robot. Okay.
I mean, I love Pascal. I think Pascal is probably my favorite character in that game. But the thing for me with Route E is sort of going back a little bit to what we were talking about with the New Donk stuff, which is the sense of like, you know, maybe a degree of positivity and hope amid a year of where that was maybe in short supply. Like, and especially in a game where that was in very short supply. Like, there are funny moments in that game, there are goofy moments, but the overwhelming sense is just deep existential dread and horror throughout. And the thing about Route E is that, like, even if it isn't like in a really, you know, explicit and very obvious way, like that is the closest that game gets to imbuing the player with any sense of like hope of breaking out of that shit.
Like it is the one moment that you finally come up and like get a breath of air.
You know what this sounds like to me? Both the Nier moments and Chicken Dinner.
No.
I just don't know if Nier needs a happy moment. Like,
That's the whole point of the game.
Yeah.
But it's not even just like happy. It's like it's relieving.
I don't know
like
if
it is
needs to relieve it. Like,
Yeah, I think sometimes you can tell a sad, true, honest story, and like being able to put a face to it, being able to like watch this character's growth throughout the whole game. Like, I think I do honestly, it's a very small nitpick because that's all I can do for Route E because I tremendously enjoy it.
Yeah.
But not having being able to put a face to what you're doing to me is like, it's less impactful.
The androids are the faces. Like they are struggling to break out of this the entire game.
It's a very loose representation of what's going on.
And it's kind of like, here's the hacking mini game that you got tired of by the end of Route B.
I don't think it
didn't actually
matters
get tired
who
of it,
you
but
see in it.
I
know what it's about.
Preferential. I do feel that.
Like I was okay with the mechanics of it. I actually thought the presentation was neat. And again, this is like, I like both of these very much, but I think the Pascal thing just with no good out, like for me, felt like, boy, you're just stuck. Like there is no good option here.
Like Route E ends up being less impactful if not for the moments along the way like that.
Yeah, and like it's a crack. It is like the daylight moment of that game of like you can find a way out and then sacrifice your stuff to help other people get out of that, which I think is incredibly powerful.
And I also
spent so fucking long building that slide.
and I really appreciate that it is just that crack. Like it's not like a big, grandiose happy
That
ending.
is 100% why I like it so
Yeah.
much. They don't come out and say, "Hey, you did it. Everything's fine. It's peace and roses and happy
Yeah.
times."
It's like, hey, maybe there's a shot.
Like the one robot literally says, "Hey, like, isn't giving them the same stuff they had before just probably going to lead to the same thing?" And it's like, yeah, we can't exclude
We'll
that
never know.
possibility. But yeah, if we don't try, we won't know. Like it's
But it is also like a bit Matrixy in like hey, we broke the cycle. Like what happens now? I don't know.
But it's
no fate, but the one we choose.
It's not Matrixy in the sense that they don't try to fucking like sugarcoat it the way that Matrix does.
And
toward the end.
also that is 1,000% preferable to me to just saying, "Hey, you were doomed forever to repeat the past."
Yeah.
Like there is no release from this hell.
Like for as deeply pessimistic as a lot of that game's philosophy is, like that they are willing to kind of show that crack and they are willing to do it in a way that feels true to everything else that still happened in that game.
I mean, that is definitely a fair argument.
Like writing my message in that game like might actually be my favorite moment in that game. Like I wrote like the most uplifting like life is hell, but we're all in this together. Like I believe in you type thing. Like it was incredibly moving.
That is very good. Yeah, the message writing part is a nice end to that.
I talked about cheeseburgers or something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, cheeseburgers are delicious, man.
That's true.
I mean, I like that they put all that stuff in there, but like I could not write anything other than like the most encouraging thing I could think of in that moment.
Yeah, I
based on the way I felt.
I think I would have written "Remember Pascal" if I could.
Oh,
He's a good person.
So, are the top three Cannery, E, and Chicken Dinner?
No.
That's
I mean, like I
probably
could totally live with
the
that.
best list
Like,
I could see here.
That's a good compromise
That's
list to
happy
me.
stuff. Mario and Zelda are happy. Everything else is sad.
I think
Well, I mean,
Zelda's
even
not
Tide
happy.
Island is not actually a happy moment in that game.
It's a
but
fun
like,
moment of
that's a
discovery.
fucking savage crucible of bullshit.
But you know what,
fine.
though? It's a really good savage crucible of bullshit, I think. But yeah, nonetheless, I do feel more strongly about the other ones.
So what is it again?
Cannery.
E, and Chicken Dinner.
Does E take it, or does Chicken Dinner
No, Cannery takes it.
No, I think
Chicken
Rudy
dinner.
takes
I would
it.
have almost said chicken.
I would say chicken dinner.
Yeah.
take it? That's
would-
the,
Oh,
that's
no.
the vibe
I would
I'm-
say chicken dinner over E.
No.
Yeah,
no. What are we
no.
even doing here?
No.
It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, they're both uplifting.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
cracks of light in a dark
I think it.
miasma of pain. I chased that chicken dinner in a weird way that was like that thing became some kind of
That became your white whale.
like kind of in a weird way, and watching everybody just post the pictures of them getting like chicken dinners was like a weird moment this year.
It made you so mad. So mad these people were succeeding where I had failed.
Can we dump the other ones?
Yeah, I don't know why I'm so reluctant. I mean, anybody can cut stuff. I don't have to do it, but I don't know why I'm so reluctant to delete those.
Because they're really
Oh, no.
good.
Very good moments.
Abby's taking charge.
Yeah,
Oh wow,
Look.
look at that.
that
No, you did it.
That Pascal
No,
moment.
Shit.
You did
was
it.
good.
Eventide's so much better.
Eat the chicken.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Like the chicken dinner is like the purest video gamey
So,
thing on
yeah,
here.
Yeah.
I feel like, what if there was something better than it just said winner winner chicken dinner?
Like that's I was actually about to say that is I actually think that the phrase winner winner chicken dinner is super fucking lame, and having the conversation be about that chicken dinner I think detracts from my enjoyment of it.
I
We can
think
just
you're
say
actually
winning around.
I have the complete polar opposite. Is that yes, it is a deeply lame phrase that is like obviously the most tacked on, like tossed off thing they just put in because they had no better idea. And the way that the world seized on it
Yeah.
is actually kind of beautiful in its own way.
yeah,
it's the duder it's over of PUBG.
I'm talking a little bit more
you just
about
put it in
like
there.
there is no fanfare when you win a game of PUBG.
Not even a sound.
Well,
Like a little
yeah,
trumpet or
not even
something.
a sound.
I guess
I don't want that.
I guess that's part of the reason I was saying it's really more about that last few minutes.
Yeah,
it's about the
It's the
experience.
end of the match.
I think I like that there's no fanfare.
Yeah, I'm
I
with
kinda
you.
like that too.
Yeah.
I want fireworks.
Also, has anybody beaten it on
I want like a
1.0?
chicken to
I
come
wonder
out
if
and
they changed
dance.
anything.
No one has done anything on 1.0 yet, I don't
it's-
think.
I mean the test server is the test server, so
Yeah. I guess if they had changed that, we would know.
I just think that Rudy is like genuinely one of the best endings I've experienced in a game, and like these other things are deeply satisfying and really well done. Like, that cannery sequence, I think, is far and away the best thing in that game. And is like not just like in a whimsical storytelling way, but like it really paints a vivid portrait of a character in a way that doesn't feel like storybooky the way that some of the other parts of that game do.
And I think you were saying before, it's something that can only be told through playing the game.
Yeah.
Like no other medium would do this
Yeah.
sequence justice.
But that's also how I feel about Route E, and I think that
Rudy's
the way
very similar with that. Yeah,
Yeah, they
The way-
both have that
You,
quality.
you can't delete saves anywhere else.
Yeah, and Route E, like, I don't know, like I have thought about the ending of that game at least a couple of times a week every time since I beat it.
True.
It's interesting because I played through that game and finished it and came away from it feeling pretty strongly about it, but like I was kind of that's cool, you shoot the credits and it means a lot and all that other stuff, but it wasn't until we actually just did it last week again and sitting down and watching it again really kind of drove it all home for me, like just how incredible that whole set of events ends up being. I don't know if it was just like seeing Jason go through it. There was something about watching Jason go through the decisions at the end that was kind of incredible.
I'm so used to games like this not sticking the landing.
Yeah,
Like
that's
how many,
a really good point.
How many great games have we played where we're like, yeah, the ending kind of sucks, but man, everything that led up to it was super awesome. And
Bioshock.
Especially like
Yeah.
a lot of Japanese games will like go so hard on the story and then just leave you.
and then you get like one kind of dumb boss fight, and it's like, all right, well, we'll see you the next time.
I was going to say it only took them 5 endings to stick it. So
I liked the ending of
no, that's
NDC.
a fair joke. That's a fair joke, Vinny.
Also, this is probably more of a best story thing, but there's parts of C/D that don't get there all the way.
They're short though.
Maybe that'll come back later.
Parts of the whole game that don't quite
Not
work.
every
Well,
single part of that game
I mean in a
works.
story
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Like, playing Nier is not great. Like, let's just be
I mean,
honest.
listen, like PUBG's got a lot of problems too.
It's not bad either, but
There are things that lead up to Route E that
Here's
I
what
don't
can
love.
never happen to you at the end of Route E. You get killed by a hacker.
You're doing the
You're the
hacking.
hacker.
are the hacker.
you
That's
are
the
the
point.
hacker.
Exactly.
I don't know. There is one thing. I mean, this is kind of in favor of Route E that you could just hit no and avoid that whole thing.
Yeah, you can totally not.
Engage with it.
You you totally have the right to be the worst person on earth. You can do that. That's your option.
Hey, man, maybe if Pascal watched out for himself, he wouldn't have been in the situation he got in.
I don't know. Pascal got a lot of chicken dinners this year.
Nice. Very nice. He's a true hero of this year.
Yeah.
I could be fine with Route E.
Yeah.
I think it's PUBG.
I can see it.
Yeah, I could go as well.
like Rowdy.
I think the chicken dinner stuff is a very 2017 moment. But the Rowdy stuff I think is super novel. And again, like thinking about this category, I had been thinking about Rowdy being in this category.
And I think in retrospect, this is the category where Edith Finch deserves to get its props on in this regard. And I think it being on here makes sense. But I can't go for anything here other than Rudy.
Yeah, like I'm knowing exactly what happens, having you guys describe to me in detail what happens in Edith Finch, I'm still excited to go play that game.
I think the Pascal
It's a
moment
great couple
is the
hours.
better. Yeah, that's the best
We
one.
know.
Yeah, we know. All right.
Y'all should play Bury Me, My Love. It's really good.
I'm going to.
I got it on my
really cool,
phone
yeah.
now.
I'm definitely
Very
going to.
Okay. Route E from Nier Automata is the best moment or sequence. Getting a chicken dinner in PUBG. Cannery sequence from What Remains of Edith Finch. We did it.
I
did it.
really love that trio,
End
actually.
of
That's
day
great.
3.
Those are some good moments.
You want to wrap up the whole day, Brad?
You're full of good moments. God, yeah, right.
Yes. This
Best
is a
world.
long day.
When did that happen?
Several days
today.
ago.
Today.
Yeah.
It was today.
Oh, yeah.
Legend
earlier.
of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Assassin's Creed Origin and Observer. Wow.
Yeah. That was where that conversation went.
Please stop putting blind boxes in your game. Also, Ukes and 2K, stop making those crappy wrestling games.
Really?
Nintendo, just give us cloud saves.
Just make better decisions.
Nintendo, please.
Just
Come on, Nintendo. You know what you did.
cloud saves and voice chat and like maybe some kind of achievement
Friends,
thing.
good friends list.
Yeah, a decent friends list. Like, come on. Your console was cool, but and then the Hitler scene is the best Wolfenstein 2 moment or sequence.
The audition scene.
I changed it, to audition.
I'm with you.
All right.
With the BJ execution and the confronting your father scenes close behind. Okay, we've done it.
We did it.
All right.
Day
We finished
three.
day 3.
This is going really well.
Yes.
It only took us 3 days.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. 2 more days to go. Chock full of categories and top 10 lists, and videos, and
And all that jazz.
All that stuff.
lots
Yeah.
of fun stuff. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm losing my voice. We should get out of here.
All right.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.